You damn right. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. Getting a little closer to Championship Sunday in the NFL. Always football to talk about. Football never dies around here. Plus, there's basketball stuff to get into. There was history last night for Damian Lillard because, you know, he's pretty good. A little drama with the Dubs as well. Love them or hate them, they always bring some drama and some soap opera. We will get you all of that. It's Chad and Zay on a Thursday. I am Chad Hastings, joined once again by the one and only Isaiah Collier. What's up, Zay?
What up, Chad? Feeling good today. Happy Thursday, everybody. Few more days left to big-time NFL Sunday. Very excited about that.
Yeah. We're going to get into all of those things. Also, we are going to start the show with a story that Zay has that I don't even know about. Apparently, Zay has some story from last night that he's going to start us with. Before we get there, since you mentioned NFL, Zay, I want everybody to know that all of that craziness, all of that madness, all of that talk about Patrick Mahomes' ankle and how he feels and how it freaked everybody out, now the line is swung all the way back to Kansas City. It's Chiefs by 1. So now I guess the experts are thinking Patrick's going to be okay because they saw that practice footage where he's just walking around normally, going through stuff. He says he'll be fine. I don't know if he'd consider himself 100, but it doesn't feel like he's 50 or 60% from what they're able to see at practice.
Yeah, probably went home, had his wife Brittany give him a nice little massage on the ankle. She's a good wife. Say what you want about her, she is loyal. She's been loyal from jump.
Yeah, and he has too, right?
And he has too. Yeah, they have a high school sweetheart situation. So go home, don't have to worry about the kids and stuff. Relax that ankle and not wearing no boot. Looks like he has a pep in this step. I see right behind you him quoted saying, I feel like I can still do a lot of things when it's talking about his ankle injury. So like I said yesterday, if anybody were to get this done and have this type of injury, it would be Patrick Mahomes just because he has all that sidearm and he was making plays last week with the gimp ankle. Now, he was running through adrenaline and whatnot, but still, with that gimp ankle, he was still making plays on the Jags. And I know this defense is a lot more confident and a lot better than what the Jags brought.
Right.
With the Bengals coming into town, but still, you got to be confident with him taking the snaps.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see, obviously early on how does he look, and then that front for Cincinnati. How much are they going to be able to disrupt Reeder and Hendrickson, Wilson, Joseph Osai for you Longhorn fans? He seems like he's been in on a lot of big plays lately, Zay.
He has.
I wonder if Joseph Osai is going to end up, he's a big part of that rotation. How will he factor into this game? Eli Apple has been expressing himself lately.
Cocky ass.
Woo, he is absolutely cocky.
He had to apologize on social media because I think he said something real crazy that was a little insensitive to the Damar Hamlin situation. And somebody, don't go that route. You're already pushing the line talking about the Bills as it is.
Yeah, he was going after Allen and Diggs.
Yeah, he was going after Allen and Diggs and stuff. But once you start going that Damar Hamlin route, cut it out. Focus on this week. You got Kansas City. You're going there. I know you call it Burrowhead, but Arrowhead will be popping, one of the best venues in all of NFL. Yeah, you better bring your A game, Eli Apple. It's not like you've been great. It's not like you've been Darrelle Revis out there this whole season. So be careful.
You don't think it's Apple Island out there? Not quite. We'll see.
More like Grape Island.
Yeah, we'll see what that looks like. That is obviously a huge story on the AFC side of things. We also have an update on the NFC Championship game as they get ready. Somebody texted us already. LOL, that ankle's going to be shot up.
That's what I said.
Is what's going on, right?
They going to shoot them up.
Yeah, Specs text line 337-3776. I always reference, a lot of people are too young to remember this. Zay, you'd probably be maybe too young to remember. Do you remember that Michigan State basketball championship in was it 2000?
2000,
99, 2000. I always, when I think of him, when I think of guys getting shot up at halftime, guys getting shot up between games, I'll always say, give him 100 cc's of Mateen Cleaves, because that dude was a beast that night. Got banged up in the first half. I think it was a pre-existing. I think he may have had it going into the finals game, the championship game.
Yeah.
Went in at halftime, limping, and he came out for the half. limping less, and he gutted through it and toughed it out, but there is no way they didn't inject him with something.
You had to.
And he obviously had the heart to go with it. That's one of the tough performances I always remember. So that's what Patrick Mahomes will probably be dealing with. So we'll get into some NFL, but we do need to start the show today with a surprise for me and a surprise for all of you, because I still had not heard this story. But Zay, something happened to you. This is something that happened to you last night. You need to discuss with the people.
Yeah, last night I wanted to keep it under wraps just because I didn't want nobody crashing the party. You know, people crazy nowadays. Y'all see the news.
Yeah.
So your boy, I guess your boy has been blessed enough to be with some heavy-hitting people. And last night I was invited to a dinner party hosted by my guys, both their names Don, one Donald David, my man, and then my OG homie Donald Doc Abrams, my guy who used to help out at Bowie, a big time doctor and stuff. Really good friends with my pops. So
when we're talking doc, we're talking doctors.
We're talking about doctors here.
Okay.
Yeah. So
dinner party at a doctor's house.
Not a doctor's house, but at Spanish Oaks Country Club.
Oh, pardon
That's
me.
right.
At Spanish Oaks.
The pinky was up all night, Chad.
Country Club. Please proceed with your story.
Yeah, and both docs, they can make a mean lasagna. So they had about 90 people there, lasagna out the yin-yang, multiple plates, some of the best lasagna I've ever had.
Oh, okay.
And then some. Caesar salad was on point. Like, the Caesar salad. It's fancy when there's actual anchovies in the Caesar salad.
Ooh, yeah.
It's fancy.
That's high level.
Me and you, we're both Red Lobster people.
Oh, well, yeah.
This is big for us.
For the record, I'm 48 years old. I've never had a salad like that. Ever. I've never had a Caesar that actually has anchovies, ever.
It was crazy.
Not once.
It was crazy. I brought my wife. She looked lovely, and it was a great time. And I guess the highlight for our show, which this is big time Italian eating right here.
Sure.
Doc, which I love Doc Abrams, he was like, first, right when I walk in, he goes, look, I'm testing your basketball knowledge right here.
Whoa.
Who is this guy to your right? And it was hard I couldn't see because I didn't want to look too hard. I was like, oh, Doc bringing out the big boys. I didn't want to look crazy. Like, who you talking about, Doc? Switch my head all fast and stuff. I didn't want to be that guy and embarrass whoever it was. And it was an older guy. He looked familiar, but I couldn't get a good look just because if I did, it would be obvious and it would be awkward.
You've been staring.
Yeah, it would have been staring. Okay. It wouldn't have been a good moment for anybody. Especially, I just showed up, Chad. Yeah. It's been 2 minutes in. I just walked in.
Zay, who's that guy?
And yeah, Doc was real discreet about it. So I look a little bit and I'm like, oh my gosh. And Doc was like, yeah. Mike D'Antoni.
Ooh, okay.
In the house.
Okay.
Yeah, so of course, everybody eats and stuff. Doc's like, I gotta introduce you, right? I'm like, you got to, Doc. I mean, come on. Shake Mike D'Antoni's hand. He already talked to my pop, so he's like, hey, heard you're a coach's son. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And I try not, in this profession, I try not to be a fanboy.
Right.
I try to be as professional as possible.
Sometimes it's hard.
It is. It is.
Sometimes it's tough.
Like, I love those Suns teams. And I told him that. I was like, living here in Austin, Texas, a lot of Spurs people. And the first thing he did when I said Spurs, he did like a hex, like X sign. He was like, oh, whoa, whoa.
He put the hex up in your face.
He put the hex up in my face. I was like, no, wait, coach.
Let me finish.
Yeah, I was a Suns fan. I just got done saying on the radio, y'all got hosed when Steve got knocked out of bounds. He was like, oh, yeah, he just laughed it off, but I can see the pain still. I can see the pain.
You can still see like the Robert Horry mark on his heart.
I still see the pain. So we went away from that, and yeah, it was a good time. But your boys were some heavy hitters last night at Spanish Oaks. I was definitely the poorest person there, me and my wife. It's fine. Like, my pops and my mom, they up there too. Mom and dad, I'm putting y'all out there. Y'all just act cheap. I know y'all got money. We know y'all do. Me and my brothers and sisters, we know y'all do. Y'all just been hiding from us so we don't ask for nothing and try to keep us humble. But let's not keep it real. Y'all got a Benz, BMW. Y'all living good.
Did they go too?
Yeah, they went too.
The parents went as well? Okay.
Yeah, they went too. They fit, and they always go to these Spanish Oaks events. My dad's basically a voluntary member
Nice.
So as you know, they trying to throw us into that class, and yeah, I was out of place, but I held my own, Chad. I held my own.
Okay, that's good.
I held my own.
CC will tell you that that's what the CC stands for in Spanish Oaks Country Club. That stands for Celeste Collier.
Yeah.
At the end. Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you held your own. The only question now, I guess, that's in my head is, was it fancy enough that you wore no neck pillow, or did you go fancy neck pillow?
Couldn't rock the neck pillow.
Do you have like a black
couldn't do
tie
it.
neck pillow?
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Because that's what you should establish.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I wanted to. It felt right.
You should have like a crystal encrusted.
Yo, everybody made me feel so comfortable that
blanket.
if I had the neck pillow, I don't think anyone would have bat an eye. I think I really would have rolled with it because they'd be like, "Oh, this is Zay. He's one of us."
You could probably get like, in fact, we'll get you a neck pillow. I'll take it home. We'll get some like Swarovski crystals or something. I'll have my kid bedazzle it up for you.
Okay.
She's into that. Does she bedazzle the hat for me for the Harry Styles show?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get you all bedazzled. That way, next time you go to Spanish Oaks, you can establish and you can go sparkly neck pillow if you want to.
Yo, I need like some diamonds or something like that. I need
Right.
some bling. Yeah, I'm good with it.
I suggested the Swarovski crystals because they're cheaper.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I saw where you were going.
You could feel me
Yeah,
on that.
I was trying to make it a little bit cool, but I appreciate the thought. It's the thought that counts.
Yes, exactly. All right, so there you go. Zay with a little brush with greatness. If you want to jump on the Specs text line, you might have, I don't know, maybe a brush with greatness you want to mention, a time when you felt like maybe you were in a room that was above your level, but in a great way. See, somebody just texted us, Don King and Donald Trump. I don't know
what that
if
means.
that means. Oh wait, you said you were with two Dons. That's what it was. Okay,
there it is.
They were guessing.
Yeah.
The Dons that you were with.
You know, I love me some mafia movies. It felt very mafioso-like.
Is that right?
With the big ass lasagna, like the lasagna was huge. Like everybody's piece was huge. I can't wait to get home and eat some for dinner.
Was it like the greatest garlic bread you ever had in your life too?
It was good.
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Because I love when you have the story like this, where it's like the greatest version of something that's simple. So because everybody does lasagna. Everybody has lasagna. Everybody's eating lasagna. But when you go, oh my God, this is the best lasagna I've ever tasted. I love that stuff. And the fact that you had a Caesar salad that was that intimidating.
Oh, it was wild.
I don't know if I have enough to bring myself to that salad. Like, it sounds very intimidating.
Yeah. Plus, Mike D'Antoni being the Italian that he is, I felt like him eating that type of meal. Oh, come on. He had some good Italian food in his life.
Now, obviously, Mike D'Antoni really quickly reacted to your Spurs story because he's Mike D'Antoni and just does everything fast in his coaching life. And does he eat that fast too?
See, I was too far to really see how he got down.
Because I'm guessing his tempo is up for all that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Mike D'Antoni gets to a meal pretty quick.
Yeah, I guess that too. He looked great. You didn't even think he was 71. He looks great.
Dude, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right, so we'll start with some Zay name dropping. I like that. Shout out to Spanish Oaks for hosting the lasagna party, and shout out to Mike D'Antoni and Zay holding his own. Speaking of Zay and basketball, we'll get into some Damian Lillard a little bit later. I heard some of Zay's thoughts earlier today. He was sitting in with B&E. Aaron's on a little trip right now, taking a couple days off. He was in there with Bucky and Monty this morning. I heard Zay's thoughts on Damian Lillard.
Yo, those guys, man. I walked in, these guys talking about working in the steel mill. They talking about gardening.
Really?
I'm like, yo, you old dudes.
Yeah, you could say you never.
I love you guys, but man.
You can say you never know where that show's going to go when Bucky and Aaron are on the show, but man, when Aaron walks out the door, that show can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Because when Bucky's not on the show, I can give you a list of things where I think it's going to go.
Yeah.
When it's Aaron and whoever. But when it's Bucky and whoever.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, those guys are so
fantastic.
Funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I heard y'all having a good conversation on Lillard. We'll get back into that at 12:30. Also, I love a good NBA drama, and they had some last night with the Dubs. I want to get Zay's thoughts on that. Let's get back into the NFL, though. We talked about the AFC title game, which I can't wait for. I'm so excited. Right now, Zay, I'm still leaning Bengals for a pick. I'm going to go Joe Burrow. Even if Patrick's healthy, Joe's not afraid of a healthy Patrick. I'm still going Bengals. What about you?
I'm with that, too.
Okay.
You know, one thing that we haven't talked about yet, those Bengals offensive linemen, they're still without those 3 starters.
Yeah.
They still got 3 backups in there. This is a way better defensive line with guys like Chris Jones running the show, and if they get pressure on Joe Burrow, which he's done a good job of getting the ball out of his hands, and they've done a good job overall this season in protecting them. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl last year. He was always on the ground. He was running for his life the whole time. Aaron Donald and Von Miller, they did his number on him. If they could get to that, the Chiefs defensively, then I do think they have the chance, but I'm with you. I'm still taking Icy Joe.
There is obviously a lot of discussion around Buffalo last week was about what Allen didn't do, the Diggs histrionics at the end of the game and a little bit during the game. To me, though, I'd have been embarrassed if I was a Buffalo defensive, especially a defensive front guy.
Right.
Embarrassed. 3 out of their 5 guys aren't playing, and we couldn't do more than that. So I'm with you. I love watching that Kansas City front. I'll still say it. They do not win Super Bowl 54 without Chris Jones.
No.
He made some of the biggest plays of that game when it mattered the most. Their run defense was big when they needed to be. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Karlaftis has played really well this year, but I watch Jones before I watch anybody else. So watch the middle of that defensive front. Can they get that pressure in Burrow's face and take the coolness away? Can they get Joe Cool moving? Because one thing Joe Burrow's got he can move. He can move when he needs to.
Yeah, he had a couple of first down runs in that Bills game.
He's not the most comfortable doing it. They've got to get good pressure on him. They got to get their hands on him. He's learning quickly about climbing that pocket, moving, shifting a little bit. But if he shifts right into Chris Jones, that's a whole nother deal. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup there, obviously. On the other side with the NFC, Eagles and Niners, as a Cowboys fan, I just want it to be over. I just want the game to be done. I can't root for either side. It's better historically, I guess, if the Eagles win, but I can't root for the Eagles to win. But let's update this Charles Omenihu story. You probably heard the story of, there's a charge of involved in a domestic violence situation. No, she did not seek medical attention. There were no visible injuries, apparently, but there was I think it's a misdemeanor charge that he's facing. And Kyle Shanahan was asked about it yesterday and asked what he was going to do, essentially, and if he was going to play. And he says he will play as long as he's healthy. Remember, he's got this oblique injury, Zay, that he's been dealing with. But Kyle Shanahan, I'm not going to say he was annoyed by the questioning, but you could see on his face the notion of, hey, are you not going to play this guy in the NFC title game based on what happened? He took that as a bit of an insulting question where it's like, wait a minute, we're going to let the legal process play out. We've looked into it, but no, at this point, we're not kicking him off our team. Now, I guess there are some people out there that think Charles shouldn't play.
Yeah, and they have every right to think that way. This is a serious thing. I mean, there's more to life than football, and this is one of those scenarios. Now, I do agree with him if they've looked into it and they come back and they feel good about it and everybody feels good about it, then let Charles play. But for him to act all brand new and, irritated because somebody asked that question, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to try to make it too much. I'm not saying he was, upset. You could just tell it was kind of one of those, all right, let's sort of move on. But the exact quote, we feel very good letting the legal process take care of itself and don't feel we should kick him off our team at this time. So it's really going to be about, once we get to the end of everything, down the road a little bit, how much due diligence did they really do?
Yeah.
And how much did they really go into? It doesn't, we don't know the particulars of the story, but there's obviously, there's different versions this could be. There's a lot. We could all write a script right now that would be a lot worse. Visible injuries. Well, heck, you could go to the Chris Beard story for stuff that would have ingredients you don't like. But this one does have an ingredient of the Chris Beard story that you don't like as a fan, and hopefully you don't like as a person, which is something happened to the level that the police were called.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, middle of the afternoon. So this wasn't like middle of the night, 3 a.m, and a neighbor heard something. This was like 4:30 p.m. from what I'm remembering.
It just
So it's
sounds
not,
crappy.
It's not great. It can obviously be a huge distraction for a football team, but as of right now, Kyle Shanahan is saying he will play. So if you don't see Charles Omenihu in the game, it's because that oblique injury is keeping him out. It's not the legal situation that is keeping him out of that game. And right now, I'm leaning Eagles in that one. I'm taking Jalen Hurts and the home team. As much as it's going to pain me either way in that one, I'm going to say the Eagles get it done.
At this moment, I got San Francisco.
Okay.
San Francisco hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher all year long. And even if they don't have Charles Omenihu, I think with Jalen Hurts still not being 100%, I gotta be proven you're still that guy that's willing to lower his head and not give a damn about your body because you're fighting for every yard, which is what got you in this shoulder situation in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta see that. Now, I do love Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, the Pro Bowler. I think they're a really good three-headed monster. Sometimes you'll see Miles Sanders, he'll be on the sideline for a complete series because Gainwell and Scott will be moving the ball down the field along with Hurts. So it's going to be an interesting game with Charvarius Ward and A.J. Brown. How are they going to use the slot with Jimmy Ward there? He's a really good slot corner. We saw Lenore last week pick off Dak, but that was all Dak's fault. I mean, me and you would have got that interception and would have jumped that pass on that throw.
Oh, I wouldn't have been gone, but I'd have caught it.
I wouldn't have been gone either.
Yeah,
I would have caught it.
I feel like I would have caught it. I'm with you. Yeah.
I might have had just 1 foot in. You might have to go review it, but I would have caught it. Yeah. It might not have been a catch, but I would have caught the ball.
That's fair.
I need that team. If they can't run the ball, which I think they're going to struggle running the ball, I don't see them winning. And yes, Brock Purdy, this is another prove-it game, and this is the best defense he will face up to this point. And the 70 sacks for the Eagles is a big-time thing, and Brock Purdy's going to be having that in the back of his mind, when to get the ball out, when to move, and when to run, this and that. I like 49ers right now.
Okay.
It might change tomorrow. We got another day. It might change.
The big question for that in that game for me is, can somebody get ahead by enough to require the other quarterback to make big-time throws? And then can that guy make those throws? Because both of these guys, to me, are in a great system for them. They work it really well. They do what's required. But we haven't seen them in the biggest moment in the NFL need to hit an NFL window, either one of them, in a massive moment. If the Eagles can jump them early like they jump everybody else, can Purdy come back and make those throws? And on the other side, if the Niners could bludgeon them out to about 10 or 13-0, and you say to Jalen Hurts, all right, now you got to come chase us with Bosa chasing you and hit an NFL window, let's see if you can do it.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm with that. I think,
but right
49ers, they can't even be down by any points. Like 14, they can't be down 14 points and put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands.
I don't know if either team can though in that game. That's what I'm saying. I think because if one of those teams can get like a 2-touchdown lead or even more a 3-score lead, I think that's huge. I think 17-0 in this game is a death sentence for the other team.
And how healthy is Christian McCaffrey? Like that calf,
right.
That's a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the Cowboys did a good job on him, but if he wasn't 100%, then that would make a lot more sense on, his production this past Sunday. Elijah Mitchell, he can run the ball too, but they got to be able to run the ball so they can keep that juggernaut offense for the Eagles off the field. And I know people want to shut Nick Sirianni up. Man, he's a cocky son.
Oh, he is too. He's as cocky as the Bengals are right now.
Everybody keeps showing that clip of him looking at the camera and nodding his head and stuff. What is that?
Dude, if it's Bengals-Eagles in the Super Bowl, it may be the cockiest Super Bowl we've ever seen in our lives. More on the NFL coming up. We'll also get into a little NBA next. Damian Lillard makes some serious history with a 60-point performance. Steph Curry got thrown out of a game last night for a bizarre reason. Coming up in the crap bag later on, Cowboys fans, some more weird truth for you. I finally looked up those numbers about Jerry as he compares to the other GMs in football. How unique is Jerry Jones? I will tell you at 12:45. Stay with us for that. And at 1:05, it's our weekly conversation with Jeff Howe of Horns247.com. His thoughts on A.D. Mitchell joining the Longhorns. We got signing day officially wrapping up coming up next week. And Jeff's a Cowboys fan, so we'll get his post-mortem on Cowboys losing to Niners as well. All that's coming up on The Horn. Wow. What did he say? Out of the light?
Out of the night.
Out of the night. That sounds like Jack Russell. Great White?
Okay.
There we go. Okay. You found a path I knew. You found a path I knew. That's early Great White. So you got a year on that?
It says 84, but
Wow.
I also just saw 82.
Dude, 84? Nobody knew who Great White was in 84. Whew, that is young Jack Russell right there. Man, I love his voice. I always have. I hated that story with them in the club when things caught fire and it kind of ruined their career. And obviously hated that people died that night. That was awful. But Great White, they had a nice little run there, and I loved Jack's voice back in the day. So Great White gets us started. Also musically, Zay, you'll be proud of me. Last night, I came up here last night to do some work. We were doing a little training for games and stuff. So I'm driving home. It's 9, 10 o'clock. I realized I hadn't listened to music in a while. I went Enter the Wu-Tang.
36 Chambers?
36 Chambers.
Oh, man.
Didn't get all the way through it, but got, I'd probably say I got towards the middle. I heard Cream.
Bring the mother ruckus. Bring the ruckus.
That was good. Yes, that
Bring
was
the
good.
ruckus.
I can't sing it back to you, obviously, because there's too many words. There's too many words.
Yeah,
But
man.
I did
Wow.
learn that Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with.
Man.
I learned that. Cream is a great song. I'd heard it before, but I'd never heard it in the context of the record. That's a great song. And I was just trying to listen for how to identify, how to know, okay,
that's tough.
where's Method Man and where's ODB and then what's the name I didn't realize was there, what is it? Something Deck?
Inspector Deck.
Inspector Deck. That's the other one that I wasn't as familiar with. I didn't even know that name going in, but there was some really good stuff on there. So I probably got about midway through the album last night.
So Vibe Magazine and Billboard have teamed together to drop the top 50 rappers of all time, and they're dropping it, I want to say week by week, from like 50 to 40, 40 to 30. So now I want to say they're on 30 to 20.
Okay.
And Method Man was 25th and Ghostface Killah was 22nd. And what's crazy of entering 36 Chambers, Ghostface, he's not on that album like that. He's on it a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard him a little bit. I haven't feel like I hadn't been a lot.
Yeah, you'll hear him on Protect Your Neck
and there's a song called Method Man, which I'm assuming is really all him,
it's all
right?
Meth.
Yeah, and it's a good song, by the way.
Great song.
That's a really good one, too. All right, so Great White getting us started today. More great music coming from Zay as the show continues. If you want to jump in on the Specs text line, 337-3776. This is stretching an argument right here. Somebody says if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, their last 2 Super Bowl wins, to be their only 2, will be won by 2 Texas-born quarterbacks. So technically the Cowboys won those Super Bowls. Dallas Cowboys for life. Yeah, that's not how that works. Let me just say this clearly. I'm probably as qualified to answer this issue as anybody. I'm an Aggie, and I'll tell you that argument makes no sense.
Yeah.
They accuse my people all the time of claiming stuff that's not theirs. That would definitely be claiming something that's not yours.
I respect the effort.
Yeah.
I respect it. Like, the positivity is great. We need that in 2023. That type of positivity, we need that.
And that's what you do. What I tell people is that can be your feeling afterwards. Like, that's how I felt once the Eagles won that Super Bowl. I did not root for them while it was happening. But once it was over, I could go, hey, you know what? Nick Foles went to Westlake. Hey, he's a Texas guy.
Yeah.
I've heard people say he's a decent dude.
Right.
I can sort of be happy for him. But that's after the game. That's not during. You don't do it ahead of time. I'm not going to do, but yes, if it happened for the Eagles, that's maybe the way I'd look at Jalen Hurts. And I do hate how much I love him and their culture. I've talked about it all season long. I hate how they feel as a team right now.
Yeah.
Because they just feel so put together.
Yeah, I love Jalen Hurts.
Oh, my God.
He's the perfect, he's just the perfect mix of cool, confident, and very professional.
Yeah.
You know, he's not like lame. Like Peyton Manning's cool because he's funny, but he's still lame. Like part of him being funny is because he's lame. Tom Brady, he's lame too. He's just cool because he's great. And Giselle made him a lot cooler than he is. But Jalen Hurts is like, you see the chain that he had on in the presser. Like, come on, that chain. stupid.
Oh, he's slick. Yeah, he
Stupid.
is. No, yeah, the face is great. He's got that great, just the right amount of calm in his face, the right amount of cool in his face.
His motivational speeches are good. Like when he's mic'd up and stuff and you hear those, you're like, aren't you just 25? If that.
Yeah, I believe every bit of it, man. That's and you know, the fact that he was, I know a lot of people probably don't, especially if you're a Cowboys fan or whatever, you never rooted for him because he was at Alabama and Oklahoma and then the Eagles. But he's an impressive leader, and we'll see if he can lead them into a Super Bowl. So a lot of football, obviously, and we mentioned, according to the Niners and Kyle Shanahan, Charles Omenihu will play if he's healthy enough to play with that oblique. The legal stuff is not going to keep him out of the game. We also have another OC that has been hired. We'll get to that in the NFL, but we did need to get to some of the basketball magic from last night. Zay, Damian Lillard went crazy last night with another 60-point performance. It was highly, highly impressive. 134-124 was the eventual win over Utah, but Damian Lillard not only gets the 60, he gets it historically efficiently. He did it in a way that was really unique, even for a 60-point game.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest players ever. When he got put on that top 75 NBA list all time last season, a lot of people kind of scratched their heads, but I think it's unanimous. Now, I do think some of those guys that made that list shouldn't have made that list, and, you know, there's guys like maybe Dominique Wilkins and Vince Carter that should have been there, but Damian Lillard, he's unbelievable how efficient he was last night. I said on B&E this morning talking to Monty, Ty, and Buck, I think he's the second greatest shooter of all time.
Wow.
I just
the first greatest being Mark Aguirre. My favorite Maverick of all time.
I thought it was Sean Bradley. That's Sean Bradley.
Sean Bradley's back into the top 10.
Yeah, he's around there.
Your greatest shooter of all time would be Steph?
Steph.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it's close with him, but second is Damian Lillard. I mean, if you go down the list, I know old heads are like, hey, Larry Bird, Jerry West. Yeah, cool. Larry Bird was a great shooter, absolutely. But Larry Bird, I wouldn't say Damian Lillard's a better player than Larry Bird. Absolutely not. Larry Bird
there aren't many that have been.
Larry Bird as a player, absolutely. But shooter, yeah, he was a great shooter. Just Dame. His ability to make shots off the dribble, come off screens, come off dribble handoffs, you know, catch and shoots. He does all of that as well as anybody except for Steph Curry. That's the only person that does it better, and that's done it on the highest level in the NBA Finals, has won Finals MVPs and stuff like that. But Dame hasn't had much help. He gets forgot about in Portland because they're always the late-ass game, and everybody's always asleep, especially with the big media on the East Coast. Those guys are 3 hours behind, so nobody really watches Dame like they should. And just CJ McCollum's been his best player that he's played with his whole career. CJ McCollum's good, but he ain't going to Springfield, Massachusetts anytime soon, getting in the Hall of Fame. I love LaMarcus Aldridge, but they traded him way too early, and him and Dame really didn't even get a chance to, you know, find themselves. Like, that wasn't the best of Dame when LaMarcus was there before he got traded to San Antonio. So I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves, but I love Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson can't shoot off the dribble like Dame. That's a huge, like, for me personally, that's what separates Dame from everybody else that you're thinking of. Like, Ray Allen was a great shooter. You know, he was real good off the dribble during his Milwaukee/Seattle days. Not like Dame.
He needed somebody to get him He needed somebody to get him to that point.
He was still that guy coming off screens, though. You know, he wasn't, though, I'm going to keep the ball in my hand, shoot step-back jumpers from half court on Paul George to send my team to the next round. He wasn't that type of dude. He was one of those catch and shoot. Yes, he had range, just Dame's ball handling ability separates him from everybody else. Like Reggie Miller, he didn't have no tight handle. He was that coming off screens type of player. He was clutch as hell. We all know what happened at Madison Square Garden in the mid-'90s when Jordan was out the league, him pushing Greg Anthony on the ground and knocking down those 2 threes in a row. We remember that, and that's nostalgic. But Dame Lillard, second greatest shooter I've ever seen.
Damian Lillard last night, so it was 29 shot attempts and 10 free throws. Only 2 other players, Karl Malone and James Harden, have ever reached 60 on fewer shot attempts But both of those guys took 23 free throws. So just the efficiency of it was crazy. The other great number that I saw, now Damian Lillard has 4 career 60-point games. That puts him third all time. He's tied with Jordan and Harden with 4. Kobe had 6, and then it's one of those stats. Wilt had 32 of those games.
Yeah, Steel Mill, coal mining era. You know how I feel about that.
I do know
it counts, I guess.
I do know how you feel about that, Zay, but 32-6? Don't we? I mean, you gotta give him some level of credit for being Wilt Chamberlain, right?
Let me go play.
It couldn't be anybody, right?
Let me go play at the 10U YMCA league, and that's what it would be, Wilt Chamberlain versus what it was back in the 60s. That's what I mean. Everybody had the black lung. They were milkmen. People were smoking cigars and cigarettes in the locker room at halftime.
No credit for
Red
Wilt.
Auerbach was fixing the whole league.
It's a shame. No credit for Wilt.
When the ABA came into it, that's what I count.
Okay.
Jerry West is lucky. He lucky the logo. We talk about him. Elgin Baylor, those guys. Yeah, I'll give him his credit. He did his thing. I love Wilt Chamberlain more for the 50,000 that he got off the court than the buckets that he got on the court. You feel me?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Some good text rolling in on the Specs text line. Somebody bringing up Luka Doncic. Somebody says Pistol Pete is one of their favorite shooters. Somebody says they think Bird is a better shooter than Damian Lillard because he did those things back when you could hand check and play defense.
Bird 6'10", y'all.
It's interesting.
Bird was huge.
It's an interesting point.
Dame Lillard's like 6'2", at best 6'3".
Also, someone just texted randomly, Brad Davis could take Mark Aguirre. That's a whole nother discussion, I think, for a different day. Also, before we hit the break, this may be the best text of the day. Jalen Hurts' face looks like a mask from V for Vendetta. He kind of does.
He does.
He sort of does.
Yeah.
He's got that cool, it almost looks like it's drawn kind of face. I'll give you that one. All right, 337-3776 is the Specs text line. We will get to the Steph Curry ejection. If you missed it, he was ejected for throwing his own mouthpiece. I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Deja vu.
Weird. We'll get into that. Also into crap bag, I took a look. Just how unique is Jerry Jones at 80 years old and took his job in 1989? I'll tell you next on The Horn. Man, what a monster tune this ended up being. For what exactly this is, I can't think of anything else you could compare it to. A guitar virtuoso from way back in the day at this point, with a signature sound right there, Carlos Santana.
Right.
And then take a current lead singer from a band that's massive, because Matchbox 20 had already hit by this point, right? They're already a big deal. So Rob Thomas's voice, people knew it. And let's throw those guys together and see if we can make a summer hit. It's crazy.
It's a hit.
This was such a monster back in the day. Okay, so Santana with Rob Thomas, and it's called, hang on. It's like one word, right?
Ocean under the moon is the sweetest.
But it's not called like Let's Forget About It. It's called Make It Real. Aren't I right? Doesn't it have just one name? One word?
Just one name, one word, yeah.
It's called like Supernatural?
Smooth.
Yeah. Wait, it's just called Smooth?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I had the S part right.
Supernatural might be the album.
Supernatural may be the album. I think you're right. Santana and Rob Thomas, man, that just spawned a lot of ideas like this, too. Heck, they did a whole other album later on with Santana and just everybody.
This song just sounds like Latin sex.
All right. I'm not going to argue with that.
It sounds amazing.
I have no argument with that at all. Kind of gives you that same feel as like a Shakira song does.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Kind of has that thing about, it sounds like there are things about sex I don't know.
Yeah.
And that I'm probably not qualified to do.
Yeah.
But they are. Go ahead.
Yeah, Santana. His life in the 70s, come on.
Ooh, yeah, my goodness. Yeah.
Speaking Spanish and stuff.
I believe if we go back and look at the full rundown, I think Santana played Woodstock. I mean, I think it goes back that far. I think I'm right on that.
It's crazy how did he like resurrect his career in the 90s? Because he has multiple 90s hits.
Yeah, right. No, that song and that era is part of what kind of came back, and it wasn't just like, hey, Santana put out an album, and it was just sort of mid-level. Like that right there, it took it to this whole other thing.
Another level,
it's like,
man.
what do you mean, Santana? But it's also because when you heard that guitar, you felt it. There's certain guys that play a guitar and you know it's him. In fact, today's Eddie Van Halen's birthday. Eddie was that way. Rest in peace. Would have been 68 years old today. He was that way. Santana was that way. I would argue Slash is that way. There's a lot of guitar players. You just hear it and you hear that tone and you go, oh, that's him. That's him right there. So shout out to Santana and Rob Thomas as we roll through a Thursday. All right, let's get into the crap bag. I looked up some Jerry stuff that might make you sad as a Cowboys fan, but hey, we got to get to the truth if we're ever going to get to the solution. Here we go. Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Sometimes nobody's done the work, or at least you haven't found it, so you got to go do it yourself. I'd never seen a full list of GMs in the NFL. How old is everybody? When did they take the job? To do like a comparison with Jerry, because it hits me every once in a while. Dude is 80. He's 80 years old. And they're like, and he's had the job since 1989. Technically, I would love to believe that obviously Jimmy Johnson, and I do believe that Jimmy Johnson was, doing some GM stuff at the beginning, but Jerry's obviously been the GM for a long, long time. So I looked at the full list, and it is about what you think you'd find. There's a lot, but even more so, it is a newer list of people than I would have expected overall. So here's ultimately what I found. Other than Jerry Jones, the other 31 guys average 50 years old. 50.
Wow.
30 full years, obviously, younger than Jerry. So let's get to, there are a couple of outliers. There are only 4 GMs in the entire NFL that are 60 or older. And they are Mickey Loomis in New Orleans, 67 years old. He took over in 2002. Mickey's done a decent job. 1 Super Bowl victory. They should have gone to at least one more. Some would argue maybe more, but that it is what it is. That's Mickey. The 70-year-old is Bill Belichick. There may be somebody else on the tote board, but Bill has effectively been their GM since 2000, 70 years old, and he's Bill Belichick. I don't have to explain to you why he is good at his job. The other guy, you got Jerry at 80, and you've got Mike Brown at 87. The owner and GM of the Bengals. He's the only other guy in the league that does what Jerry does, owner and GM. So that's how unique Jerry is in that regard. Mike Brown took over 2 years after Jerry, technically, as a GM. But here comes the real unique part, Zay. This is what I want Cowboy fans to focus in on. Only Jerry Jones can say that he became a GM in the NFL a day after he was nowhere close to being a GM in the NFL, meaning he hadn't trained for it. He didn't have any formal experience. Bill Belichick did. Bill Belichick had been a coach, a scout, looking at players. That clearly gives you player personnel experience. Mickey Loomis and these guys had worked their way up. Even Mike Brown had been an assistant GM since the late 60s in Cincinnati. And you can say whatever you want about Mike Brown. I would not want that direct comparison, Cowboys fans, because there's some weird stuff with Mike Brown. The time he was cheap through the years, bad scouting departments, didn't give the dudes enough towels. There was a lot of weird stuff. Don't make that your model. Don't say, well, Mike Brown's got the Bengals and they're about to go. No. Because they also have a pretty damn good coach and a badass quarterback, and I don't think the Cowboys have either one of those right now. Certainly don't have a young coach that's showing what Zach Taylor did. So I don't know if I'd go immediately to that Mike Brown comparison. But you look at all the rest of these guys throughout the league that are 45 years old, 42 years old, 37 years old, 44 years old, just to pick some random ones. They've all had experience, Zay. They've all had experience in player personnel, working their way through systems, college systems, pro systems, director of player personnel, assistant director of player personnel, working their way up to it. Jerry was a businessman that bought the team, and then he was the GM. What do y'all call it when you get to pick players? Jerry, that's called the GM. Yeah, I want to be the gum. I'm the gum as of tomorrow. That's the plan. Now, ultimately, Jimmy was a big part of that. But Jerry ultimately wanted all that credit. Remember, 93 is when free agency changed the NFL. And I can argue Jerry never fully understood what that was all about. Eventually, he gets rid of Jimmy because his ego told him anybody could coach the team.
Was Reggie White that first big free agent?
Mm-hmm. It was that era. Exactly. Exactly. So, and that's when everything changed. And I'm not saying Jimmy Johnson would have been perfect through that period, but I would argue he was kind of Belichick before Belichick if Jerry had let it happen. But he didn't. So now Jerry's been that GM for all this time. 34 years. Folks, there's nobody really close other than Mike Brown. Outside of those four guys I mentioned, Brown, Belichick, Jerry, and Mickey Loomis, every GM in the NFL, every one of them, started their job in 2010 or later. Now think about that. I'm just going through the random list here. 2017, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2019, 2016, 2014. 2018. This is a new GM kind of league right now. So yes, Jerry is super unique in what he is. But I'll argue he's negatively unique in that one way. He is an 80-year-old man that became a GM in 1989 having no training to do it.
Yeah, and thank goodness, like Cowboys fans, I don't think they give Stephen Jones enough credit for talking them off ledges.
Yeah.
Well, like draft picks and different guys, like one in Johnny Manziel and cats like that, and just having to be like, yo, Pops, no, we can't do it. And then Jerry, since it's his seed, I guess saying, okay, I'll listen to you, but I won't listen to anybody else. But you're right. It's just, that's been the biggest issue. And the pride that he takes in those 3 Super Bowl rings in the early 90s, it's a different game. Like you said, with free agency that happened in 93, so much has changed. And Jerry has struggled with adapting. So again, like, thank goodness Stephen Jones has been there to help. But, and I kind of feel like at this point, it's just like the aura or just the, bad luck with him just being at the helm of owner and GM.
Right.
It's like they just won't, the football gods won't let it happen.
And then if you're a Cowboys fan, in a way, you could tell me you hope it turns into the Mike Brown situation, but is that really what you want? Because is Stephen Jones your Mike Brown? Stephen Jones is 58 years old right now, and at least he's getting the experience. He's the assistant personnel guy or whatever his official position is, right? Assistant VP of player personnel and whatever. So just like Mike Brown, he's learning the business right now. And I'm assuming he wouldn't be super cheap if he became GM. He wouldn't take that route. But at some point, everybody thinks Jerry's just going to hand it to Stephen. So is Stephen just going to do what Mike Brown did and kind of keep it a family business and go that way? Because if you watch the full layout of Mike Brown, I don't know that I would make that argument. In fact, the GM for the Bills, did you see this story? Was just asked about the Bengals' success. And he said, I wouldn't want to suck bad enough for that long to get Jamar Chase. I'd like to have him. He's a big talent. But they had to suck for a long time to get that.
They got Joe Burrow with the number 1 pick.
Right.
It's not normal to go to the Super Bowl in the number 1 pick as your quarterback's second year. Because most of the time that means there's more going wrong with your organization and your team if you do have the number 1 pick and you have to take a quarterback. So Joe Burrow, he's surpassed the normal steps that quarterbacks have to take. That's why you should be very happy that you got him for the next 15 years. And what he talked about earlier in the presser a couple of weeks ago, as long as I'm quarterback, we're always going to have a chance to get into the Super Bowl.
Right.
Damn right.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right, because he's shown us. And maybe he probably would have took him to Super Bowl his first year if they didn't tear his leg off.
They might have. Yeah,
but
you're right.
Then they got Jamar Chase in that 5th pick, which that's his boy from LSU. So they already had a chemistry. And that was a big part of why Joe Burrow won the Heisman in that year that he had with Ed Orgeron. So, yeah, you don't look at Mike Brown as the standard. Mike Brown has gotten lucky, and like you said, he's done some real shady, sketchy things in the past.
Yeah, it's a little weird there. So I don't know what to tell you, Cowboys fans, other than those are the numbers. That's the truth of the matter right now. I'll still ask, is anybody ready to take Grandpa's keys? But you can't do it. I don't know if Steven can do it. I don't know who can do it. Jerry is 80 years old, and if you really want to look at the problem or look at how to change it, he has not changed his GM technically in 34 years. I mean, it's crazy.
To Jerry's defense, yesterday at Spanish Oaks, Chad, there were some OGs up in there. They were sharp. Them boys were sharp.
Yeah.
Some doctors, lawyers,
That's
guys
fine.
retired OGs like Jerry. Them boys were sharp. So it can be done.
Look, and yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm not saying the age is the only reason.
Yes.
I'm saying you put it all together, but also, are we paying attention to Jerry at 80? I keep bringing it up. He's 80. Listen to the man talk. Listen to him try to put sentences together. Is he entertaining? Does he make you laugh? Okay, sure, fine. But again, he drinks Johnny Walker Blue enough that a play-by-play guy mentioned it on a national broadcast.
That's amazing.
It's that much. He's partied that much over the years, drank that much. And again, listen to him try to put sentences together. I'll listen to Hubie Brown all day today talk basketball because he still puts sentences together. Jerry is not doing that anymore. He is 80. He sounds every bit of 80. My parents are about to turn 77, and we notice things about our parents. I know Steven's noticing it, but he can't do anything about it.
Can't do nothing about it.
He can't do a thing. Jerry.
Yeah, Steven, as good as he's been, as just talking pops off the ledge, he still ain't got no backbone.
And Jerry has already told us he likes his coach, he likes his quarterback, we know he likes his GM, and he loves his running back. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, Big Mike, no pushback there.
Nope.
That's why he's not going to – Sean Payton ain't even a thought.
Nope.
Zero pushback with Big Mike. Big Mike, yes, sir. No, sir. Okay.
Right.
That's Big Mike.
Yep. You're letting an 80-year-old man run your NFL franchise in 2023, and I'm not sure what else you're supposed to do other than just, I guess, you got to start telling him to start losing significantly so you can get a Joe Burrow. Because that's what you did with the Troy Aikman, right? You were losing significantly enough. You had the first pick. You ended up with Aikman, and you got a Hall of Fame quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, and you rolled, and you got some other talent, and it worked.
Did Aikman win in year 2?
And there were 3 Super Bowls. No, they were, not a Super Bowl. It was
Not
year,
Super Bowl.
year 4 for him.
It was year 4? Okay.
89, 90, 91, 92. So, yeah, like year 3 or 4 is when they won the first Super Bowl.
Okay.
First year was the 1 in 15 year.
Right.
Started to go up from there. All right, there you go. Crap Bag every day about 12:40. 6:45. There's the Jerry truth for you, as sad as it is. Up next, Jeff Howe of horns247.com. We'll get his thoughts on some Longhorn stuff, Cowboy stuff, and more. Stay with us. It's The Horn. How about hour number 2 on a Thursday? Getting closer to the NFL championship games. Also plenty of Longhorn stuff out there. Longhorn basketball, getting ready for the big trip to Knoxville. Remember, tonight at 7, Longhorn Weekly with Rodney Terry. Fired back up on Thursdays with the coach. 8 o'clock, it's your Longhorn Blitz podcast replay. If you missed it last night, catch it tonight with the Horns 24/7 crew. Jeff Howe, a little Rod Babers, a little Matt Butler for you. If you're a Longhorn football fan, you got to get into that. And speaking of Jeff Howe and Horns247.com, he's in studio with us right now. Let's go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. We give him their love, even though he is sitting right over there. One of our favorite segments of the week, talking football and some other stuff with Jeff. How are you, sir?
I want to apologize to anybody watching on Twitch. Like, I just had lunch and I was sitting here leaned back, slumped in the chair, and I'm like, how fat and frumpy do I look right now? So
Hey, you look great.
Thank you, Zay.
You look like you're playing weight.
Actually, my playing weight. What am I playing weight? But it would have been in the 230s, in the 230s, 240s. Fluctuate somewhere.
Well, life for a lineman. What?
Yeah, well, it was playing two-way ball. So
that's
we
you're big body.
My senior year when we went to the playoffs, we had a starting guard who I think was like $180.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quick feet.
Yeah.
I hope.
Hey, when you run the wing tee, it's all about zone blocking. It's all about zone principles. Make sure you got your footwork down.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I've ever complimented you on how much I appreciate your hatred for your rival school.
Oh, for Gerald?
For Gerald. It's kind of how I
the
feel about Westlake.
Texas.
Yeah.
It's thick. It's a thick hatred.
If
If y'all haven't heard Light the Tower.
It might be worse than my hatred for Westlake.
It might be.
If the state of Texas ever needed an enema, Gerald's where you would stick the hose.
Yeah, because on my side, at least I got former Westlake guys that been to the University of Texas and done well. Justin Tucker, Sam Ellinger. I don't think you could say that much for.
Yeah, I've never heard Jeff Howe say, well, I got to admit, he's a Gerald guy, but I love him still. I've never heard him
Even
do
like
that.
Morgan Cooper, I would keep him at an arm's distance, arm's length when I was covering baseball. Like, I like you, Coop, but just
Come on. You just stay over there, please.
like when I found out Morgan Cooper, when I knew he was from Gerald, and then he helped raise bulls, and I'm like, it's a Gerald kid and farm animals. Like, I so want to go there, but I'm not. Out of respect for the late,
you can do it on our
Burrito,
show. I know Craig
respect
Way
for the baseball program. I'm just not gonna go there.
Yeah.
You can do it for our show.
Morgan Cooper, good dude.
Yeah, if it's well crafted, we'll let you do it.
We'll let you do it
for a second.
We had a texter wanting Craig or myself to tell the Baylor baseball cat story, and we're like, just go down the rabbit hole, and kids can throw that in the Google machine, and
yeah, that one's heavy.
Then let your mind wander for the rest of the afternoon on that.
That is heavy. Before we get into some Longhorn stuff and maybe a Cowboy thought, let's start with something a little more positive. We were talking about Damian Lillard's performance last night with the 60-point effort. Zay has asserted on the air today that Damian Lillard for him is the second greatest shooter of all time.
Ooh.
Behind Steph Curry. So give us your thoughts on Damian Lillard and where he might rank for you all time.
I can't put him ahead of Ray Allen. Can't put him ahead of Reggie Miller.
Okay.
I respect it.
Bird would have to be up there too if we're talking about just pure shooters.
Another Larry mentioned.
I mean, Larry's
going to get mentioned.
Larry I'll give you every dang player. Larry was like LeBron.
I'll give you an underrated shooter that never gets mentioned in the conversation, and he should, because he was one of my go-to guys in NBA Jam back in the day. Mark Price never gets mentioned.
Oh,
he was
in that group of great shooters.
One of those Cavs teams back in the day.
Yeah. Their only fault was they were in the East at the same time. The Bulls had risen to power. The Bulls just passed them up.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, you're right.
Some good teams. Craig Elo was an overrated defender, but that's a different story.
Yeah, go ask Ron Harper. If you saw The Last Dance, you know what Ron Harper thought about that.
Why wasn't he out that game?
The decision to roll with Craig
Lenny Wilkes. What are we doing? What are we doing? You see that hairline? I mean, obviously he made some bad decisions, but yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, 60 points last night. Really efficient way to do it there with only 10 free throws. That was impressive stuff from Damian Lillard. All right, I wanted to get your thoughts on A.D. Mitchell real quick. Things are about to tie up on the signing day, and officially it's next week. But we know everything happens in December. Is there anything that could happen between now and next Wednesday that's going to be any bigger for this football team than A.D. Mitchell?
With all due respect to Warren Roberson, defensive back out of Red Oak, who's going to visit Texas this weekend, committed to TCU. Not that flipping a kid from a team that went to the CFP that's in your backyard, not that wouldn't be a big deal. But here's what I like about A.D. Mitchell. Two things. One, you look at how good he was catching the deep ball. I broke down the numbers. Went to PFF. Over the last 2 seasons, he's had 17 targets on passes of 20 yards or more down the field. 8 catches, 5 of those 8 catches are touchdowns. So Talking about a guy that can stretch the field. We know he's a good route runner. Everybody loves that whip route he ran in the Ohio State game when he caught that touchdown pass from Stetson Bennett. But his ability, and Quinn Ewers, quite honestly, the eye test showed it and the numbers bared it out, was one of the worst deep ball throwers in the country this year. I mean, he's about 31% completion rate on passes of 20 yards plus down the field. So he helps you in the deep game. He also gives you, I don't want to insult him by saying insurance policy, but that's kind of what it is. If Isaiah Nayer's not all the way back, or maybe takes a little more time to get back than you expect, or has a setback at some point, A.D. Mitchell basically is we're not going to put all of our eggs in the Isaiah Nayer basket like we did last offseason. And I think for Sark, I think that's growth. I think we've seen Sark each of the last 2 off seasons examine problems and then make steps in the right direction to fix those problems. You know, last year, the 2021 season, we're talking about O-line depth and line of scrimmage depth and how bad you were on the line of scrimmage. All right, I'm going to bring in a whole host of guys. Now you look at what they're going to have on campus for spring. Like, even with Cole Hudson and Connor Robertson recovering from surgery, you got 14 healthy scholarship offensive linemen for spring practice. I can't remember the last time Texas had that many. And on the other side, with Sadir Mitchell enrolling early, even though you lost Keandre Coburn and Moro Ojimo, we got 9 interior scholarship defensive linemen ready to roll for spring practice. So we've seen Sark look at problems and then do his best to address them. I think this is just another one of those. You know, we saw them put all their eggs in the Isaiah Nayer basket, and when he went down, nobody was more negatively impacted than Xavier Worthy, in my opinion, when that injury happened. Now you give yourself it's a big step up. It's an apples pomegranates comparison, similar to what you did taking Tariq Milton a year ago, right? And I said it at the time. Look, if Tariq Milton doesn't play a snap, that's good, because that probably means Jordan Whittington was healthy the whole year. Or if Jordan Whittington has an injury, then you just throw Tariq Milton in there, and he's at least serviceable. He can function the same way Jay Wood can. And lo and behold, we didn't see much of Tariq Milton because Jordan Whittington was healthy the whole year. So I like it for a number of different reasons.
Jeff, winter workouts is going down. Who is sticking out right now? Obviously, everybody wants to know about Arch Manning, but what about guys like Malik Murphy? You know, the edge rush. You talked about the interior lineman, defensive lineman, but the edge rushing last year wasn't up to par like it could have been or should have been. Barron Sorrell, and we know what Justin Finkley could bring to the table, but what's it looking like right now in the workouts?
I think especially early, Zay, it's key to track the guys that came off of good bowl practices and guys that came off of good practices late in the year. Mo Blackwell falls into that group. Jare Bledsoe is a guy that, to me, falls into that group. DJ Campbell is one of those guys. So there's some of those guys that you're looking at, okay, now can they take the next step? As far as Arch goes, I've heard in terms of understanding the playbook, in terms of getting himself ready to enroll, shocker, I know, but that he was maybe ahead of where the staff thought he would be in terms of understanding how the offense is going to function. So he came in prepared. I know everybody probably by now has seen the video of him throwing with guys in the bubble and getting those extra throwing sessions in. But, you know, and Malik Murphy is in that group too, of guys with, you know, Bledsoe and Blackwell and Campbell. Malik Murphy's in that group, started to really put things together, relatively speaking, towards the end of the year and in bowl practices. So that's the kind of group. If you hear good things about that group of guys, if this roster is going to be one that has talented depth, which means think about the 05 national championship team. I mean, like, where the entire two deep on the defensive line played in the NFL. Like, if you're going to get to that point, that's the group of guys that really has to take it to the next level.
Jeff Howe joining us in studio. We talked about A.D. Mitchell. How about his new wide receivers coach? What do you make of the Chris Jackson choice? You know,
the Chris Jackson choice is interesting because we talked about it a lot. I know we talked about it a lot on the site at Horns 24/7. I mentioned it on Light the Tower. Did a couple of Longhorn Blitz podcasts about it. It felt like Sark really wanted to target player development with it. And now I'm of the opinion that you can have both. You can have a guy who's really good at developing talent and really good at he's a really good recruiter. You know, I was thinking about this, Chad. I think the last time Texas had one of those guys, like a wide receivers coach that was, you could say, is elite at both. To me, I think you got to go back to Darryl Drake.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, because Bobby Kennedy, and I'm just going to run down, just call roll here for a second. Bobby Kennedy might have been the best recruiter Mac Brown had on that staff, not a great developer of talent. or at least not at an elite level. Derek Wyatt, I think he was good at both, but I don't think he was elite at either. Les Koenig was only here for a year. Charlie Williams was only here for a year, but I thought, go back and look at that 2016 wide receiver core. A lot of those guys had their most productive years under Charlie Williams in that Sterling Gilbert offense, like Armani Foreman, Jake Oliver, Petey Warwick. Like Petey Warwick caught 30 balls in a year. I mean, that's kind of where you were. And so I thought Charlie Williams got a lot out of that group. Drew Maringer, really good recruiter. Obviously, we know the trouble there in terms of developing the position and button heads with Tom Herman at the end of the day. And then you get to Andre Coleman, I think pretty good developer, coacher of the position, not an elite recruiter. So Brennan Marion was only here for a year, so how can you really evaluate it? So my hope is, above all else, Chad, I hope Sark got him a receivers coach that can stick around for a little bit and really develop the talent you got in that room, because you got a lot of talent in that room. I know when you look at that position, you're like, hey, Xavier Worthy needs to get fixed after his regression, but you've got Jonte Cook in for spring. DeAndre Moore is in for spring. You got A.D. Mitchell now. You're going to get Isaiah Nayer back. You've got the pieces to have one of the better receiver groups in the Big 12. Just got to get somebody that can help those guys get there.
Jeff, let's go to the hardwood. Texas basketball looking good, 17-3. Right now, fighting for first place in the Big 12. We know they got a tough one in Knoxville against Rick Barnes' crew, the best defensive team in the nation.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to this next game?
First off, did you go to the game the other night, Zay,
No.
against Oklahoma State? Okay. You watched it on TV, though.
Yes.
Was it as hard to watch on TV as it was for me to watch it during watching it live in person?
I don't think so, but I was still coming down from my high school game with Roger Wallace. So.
Okay, because to me it was like, and Chad, I don't know how you felt watching it, like just the abundance of fouls that were called. It just felt like the game never really got into a rhythm. But those sequences where things got to flow a little bit of back and forth, like that crowd was as excited as I've heard that crowd at the Moody Center all year. So props to everybody that showed up at the game. It's just some of these Big 12 games. Yeah, they're physical games, but some of these officiating crews don't help that process much. As far
they're
as
awful.
as far as tomorrow, Jose, or Saturday, Saturday. It's not Friday yet. As far as Saturday goes, a couple things. One, eliminating turnovers. That's when this team has really gotten itself in trouble. I think that's the big thing. And managing Tyrese Hunter's minutes. What's interesting to me is it feels like the time Marcus Carr spent off the ball has made him better with the ball in his hands. Like, it's almost like he understands how the offense needs to flow, moving without the ball. Timmy Allen's kind of found his role now and really kind of understands what he's doing with all the pieces changing. So, avoiding turnovers, especially live ball turnovers. The live ball turnovers will kill you, especially on the road. You guys get steals and runouts, it's just going to hurt you. So eliminating turnovers, keeping those to a minimum. And can you eliminate, you go back to the Iowa State game, really to me where that game was lost, it wasn't so much the turnovers, it was the fact that in a 40-minute game, you went 17 minutes of clock time without a field goal with your longest stretches. So finding ways to avoid those prolonged stretches without a field goal, because it's going to mount and you're playing in a hostile environment. I would like to think that playing that game at Hilton, that just being in that atmosphere more than anything, I think is going to get them ready for Knoxville. Because let's face it, Norman on New Year's Eve is not the same as going to Hilton during a weeknight when school's in session.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So I feel like just from an environment standpoint, that'll probably help with the turnovers. But that to me is the biggest key. What can Rodney Terry and that staff, and Bob Donewald, we know, is heavily involved with the offense, what can they draw up? What can they go to? What do they want to do? Who do they want to feature in those? Maybe if you go a possession or two that's an empty possession, say, hey, we really need to get a bucket right here. What are we going to do? Can you do that and not have those 4, 5, 6 possessions in a row that are just empty possessions?
Yeah, because Rick Barnes, he got some long brothers up there in Knoxville, and they got number 2, Julian Phillips, which I think he's going to guard Timmy Allen. He's like 6'8" freshman. A lot of NBA scouts like him. They got that one big man, number 13. His name starts with an N, but the N sound like Kachua or Kamua. I don't know. I'll get it by tomorrow, but he's a stud. We know Vescovi and Zakai Ziegler are good players. It should be a good game, but I love the way Marcus Carr's been playing. And I don't think we talk about his defense enough either.
No, we don't.
He's been in the passing lanes.
Yeah.
He's been locked down. You can't just blow by him. He makes it tough on you. And you talk about limiting Tyrese Hunter's minutes. I think Terrio's giving you good minutes in the limited ones that he's been getting.
Yeah, and I think that to me has been one of the more impressive things that we don't talk about is the role of the bench guys, right? Like, I know we all applaud Brock Cunningham for making those threes, but Brock Cunningham played 24 minutes the other night, and you needed him to play 24 minutes when Dessou and Bishop got in foul trouble. I think Christian Bishop's kind of found his role as that energetic big that can give you a little bounce, give you a little juice off the bench. And, I think the two guys that are really struggling right now, I think to kind of find roles and figure out how they fit in, I think it's Arterio Morris and Dylan Mitchell are trying to figure out, okay, how do I fit into this thing? But you're right. Terrio's not going to get more than, 7 to 10 minutes somewhere in there. He's got to make those count when he's on the floor. I think if he's just making smart decisions, it doesn't matter if he scores.
Yeah, he'll do some dumb things.
Yeah, if he just makes smart decisions while he's on the floor, it doesn't matter if he scores or not. That'll help you win games.
Jeff Howe, check out horns247.com. If you missed the Longhorn Blitz podcast, we'll hit it for you tonight at 8 o'clock after Longhorn Weekly. Light the Tower, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll even give you a gift and not ask you a Cowboys question. I want you walking out of here with a smile on your face. I want you walking out of here in a good mood. So we're going to end with positive Longhorn basketball talk. That's how we'll do it. Always good to see you, sir.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
That is Jeff Howe every Thursday about time. It is maybe the first time though that he sat down and immediately he and Zay both started talking about Jeff's weight. You just never know. You never know what's going to happen. It did.
I'm an open book, Chad.
It did happen.
I'm an open book. Oh, totally forgot to tell you. Guess where I'm going Saturday?
If you're saying it that way, it's got to be Royal Rumble.
Yes, sir. I will be there.
You got tickets to the Rumble, or are you going to cover it as a media member?
Shout out to my buddy Chris Dukes. He called me and said, "Hey, I got an extra ticket to the Rumble. You want to go?" Hell yeah, if you got an extra ticket, I want to go.
There you go.
I already decided because there's a lot of rumors that Stone Cold Steve Austin might be in the Rumble match. I've already decided if he's just thrown in the middle, like number 17 or 20, I'm like, the pop is going to be the biggest pop you've ever heard in your life. If it's the unexpected Austin pop it's awesome if you've never experienced it.
Yeah, that could be good.
So dope.
That could be good. They're in San Antonio for the Rumble on Saturday night. All right, that's Jeff Howe. We do it every Thursday about this time. Up next, it's the Flex 30 segment. Zay will take you back to Tuesday night and the game he got to cover for KBVO. We'll talk about the interview we had yesterday with one of the area's best coaches and remind you where you can see that list of games for Friday. A lot of good basketball action in the area. That's next on The Horn. All right, let's talk a little underdog fantasy. We got the championship games coming up. Easiest place to play fantasy sports. I've got my pick'em game set for the NFC game. We're going to get that out tonight or tomorrow, and then I'm going to get one together for the AFC game as well. What you do, you pick whether your favorite player or maybe your least favorite player is going to have a higher or lower stat total in that week's game. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single playoff game. Pick between 2 and 5 players. Build that pick'em entry. You can do rivals picks, where 2 players are pitted against each other for, yards, points, who's going to have more of whatever. Look at the pick insurance option, which gets you a better chance to win. It's a lot of fun to do. Trust me, if this old man can get it on his phone and have it going during games, you can too. Sign up today with the promo code HORN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get that first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get that pick'em game going today at Underdog Fantasy. That's where I thought you were going. That's what I thought. Just had to let her start. Because that's Doro, which means that's Warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. All
Yo,
right.
she's going hard.
Dude, she was so sexy. I Rule the Ruins, right?
Yes.
Oh, so sexy. Just sexy, raw, blonde in denim. Singing like this. Loved Warlock back in the day. All We Are and all that stuff. Never saw them live, but I wish I'd seen Doro live in her prime. Doro Persh. I can't think was the last name.
Yeah, she's giving me a Pam Anderson barbed wire feel.
That's a good description. Yeah. Sexy Pam Anderson screaming out metal songs.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Doro was. Warlock, and I believe I think Doro's German. Warlock, Santana, and Rob Thomas, and Great White today. Before we get into the flex segment, Zay, how about a little breaking news in the NFL? Have you seen a team that needs a head coach has picked a head coach? And it's now a retread head coach. Frank Reich is the Carolina Panthers' choice. He will now be their 6th head coach. Owner Dave Tepper chose Reich after a search, so they're going to go with him instead of who was the guy? Oh, Steve Wilkes was the guy that was the interim, but they are going to go with Frank Reich. So he was not out of a job long. Also, Zay, just to connect it, I read a tweet. Thanks to somebody who tweeted this at us. It's probably our man Chris Bennett. Do you see this? That Jim Irsay is telling anybody that'll listen that his favorite to be the Colts coach is still Jeff Saturday.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
But guess what? Apparently, according to other reports, he hasn't been in a meeting yet. He hasn't been in an interview meeting yet with anybody.
Jeff Saturday?
No, Irsay. Irsay has not been sitting in on the meetings where they're interviewing the prospective people that might be the coach, but he's sure Jeff Saturday's the answer.
And Saturday's going to, I guess, bring his guys in.
What does that mean?
His guys,
The guys
quality guys.
Guys from ESPN?
The rest of the offensive linemen on the 2009 Indianapolis Colts.
Peyton and Edgerrin James? Is that what that means?
Yeah, Peyton already said he ain't coaching.
No, he shouldn't. No.
Edgerrin James has his back. I know that. I saw some type of video, I think after their first win, of Edgerrin James and Jeff Saturday in the locker room getting all hype and stuff. And
Don't go doing that, though. Don't go just getting a bunch of dudes you used to play with.
Why not?
Because that was the Cliff Kingsbury plan at Tech. Remember how that worked out?
Dan Campbell basically did it. Looks pretty good.
Now, Dan Campbell's made some things work out. He made a couple work out. You're right. I mean,
That's pretty good. Mark Brunell, Deuce Staley.
that's true. That's true.
Aaron
And then
Glenn.
I'd say Aaron Glenn on the defensive side. That's true. That's true.
It could work
It can-
if you find the right guys that really want to coach.
But also, Dan Campbell was already a coach. Jeff Saturday has not been.
Very true.
That's the part that
Touche.
may need to figure that out too. So the Panthers are going to go with Frank Reich for their new head coach. All right, let's get into the flex segment here. We'll talk some high school basketball, including the games they got to see on Tuesday. Also, another thanks to Antoine Thompson, the coach of Stony Point, that joined us yesterday on the show. If you missed that, go to hornfm.com. You can check out the interview there. Also, I believe it may be up at FlexATX as well. But we enjoyed talking with Coach Thompson, and we told you yesterday that team, if you want to see them, Stony Point, they're at Round Rock Friday at 7 over there at the Dragon Gym. So because of that interview yesterday, Zay, we hadn't had a chance to talk about the game you guys saw on Tuesday. Another good close game for you on KBVO. You guys are getting some nice competitive games. You guys got to see Conley hosting Georgetown. Let us know how it rolled out.
Yeah, fun game. You know, I mentioned on Tuesday that I was excited to see sophomore on Conley, Mechalai Bryant. Well, kind of like Josiah Mosley a few weeks ago, he didn't play because he got thrown out the previous game, like we said a couple weeks ago. And UIL, if you get thrown out or tossed as a player, you are suspended for one game. So Michael Bryant, unfortunate, didn't get to see him. Now, I ain't blaming him as much because I found out one of those texts was because he was hanging on the rim.
Oh,
What's
good
wrong
grief.
with that? What are we doing, ref?
Come on, man.
Especially if there's traffic in the lane, if there's guys' bodies in the lane and stuff, and you're scared of falling on a leg or falling on an ankle and rolling yours. I get it, but come on, refs. Let's have some style. Let's not give techs out for guys hanging on the rim. I digress a little bit there, but the game was great. Conley played their tails off. Georgetown played hard for about 30 minutes, and they just couldn't keep up with Conley's tenacious defense. You know, Coach Howie's team, Coach Howie was a part of the coaching staff of Willow Ridge back in the early 2000s that had TJ Ford on the team.
Daniel Ewing
and
that crew. Yeah.
You know, Kenny Taylor that went from Baylor and then came and played Rick Barnes of Texas.
That is such an unfair high school team.
It was a joke.
That's so silly.
It was a joke. Those three guys, they were the three-headed monster.
Oh my
TJ
God.
Ford was the passer. Daniel Ewing was the scorer. Kenny Taylor was the shooter. And then their big man went to like Oklahoma State. I think that's the greatest high school basketball team, especially in Texas, of all time. But Coach Howie, he was a part of that coaching staff, and he does a great job with the Conley Cougars. Jordan Wright, he was the highlight of the game, had 24 points.
Good player.
Go, man.
Yeah.
He had about 4 Steph Curry threes, was lighting it up, getting his teammates involved, dishing that rock. And they got a lot of other guys, too, that not just, you know, Michael Bryant, even though they didn't have him, and he might be the highlight player on their team. You know, Brian Phelps, he was solid, very athletic. Jordan Lawrence, very athletic, skilled with the ball. He was making plays. So, you know, Joshua Doe, he's solid, just a sophomore. They're a young team. They play really hard, and you could tell why they're leading that district. They're solid, and they're going to be a tough out when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, coming up on Friday night, that Conley group at 20-8, they're going to Elgin. I'm just going to tell my Elgin Wildcats to watch out.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them Wildcats,
Gonna be tough. Wildcats got to D up. Let's D up. 7 o'clock on Friday night. Conley going to Elgin. By the way, on the Georgetown side, let's also warn anybody who's facing Georgetown. And this week it's Pflugerville at Georgetown. If you don't get out and cover, what's my man's name?
Kai Canfield.
Kai Canfield, the coach's son, right?
Yes.
If you don't cover Kai Canfield early and he hits 1-3, he might hit 31 if you don't get out there and chase him off. Conley did a good job of eventually chasing him off the line. What did he hit early? Was it the first 3
he
took?
hit like the first 3 shots.
It
2
was
of them were
smooth.
threes. Yeah, he could light it up, and don't let him get open. And they got pretty good big men, too. Logan Brent Cater, he's a solid big man in there. The senior, and then Ryan Dupre, he's only a sophomore. Both of those guys, they do a good job down low for Coach Canfield's team, but that athleticism that Conley was throwing at them boys, it could be a lot. If you're not prepared for it, it could overwhelm you. And I think that's what happened with the Georgetown Eagles. Again, Conley, they're going to be good once the playoffs come around. Now, somebody on the Specs text line who is right, they told me to give Colleen Ellison, Mike Harge's alma mater, some love, and we should. They're number 2 in the state, and they got, I talked about them before, they got Jamon Keller, who's going to Oklahoma State. Stud.
Okay.
He is good. I saw them at the Pflugerville tournament during the Christmas break. They're a very good team, and Keller, he leads that crew. They're going to make a deep run, 5A, when the playoffs come around. Also, they beat a good Belton team who has a couple of D1 guys. Yeah, I hear you, man. I know y'all listen to us down in the 254.
There we go.
Appreciate that. Colleen Ellison, they for real.
And remember, you can go to flxatx.com. You can check out that interview that we did with Coach Thompson of Stony Point yesterday, and you can get the full list of Friday games, boys and girls. Remember, in most cases, wherever the boys are playing, the girls, those 2 girls teams are going to be at the opposite gym for your scheduling purposes. We talked about Stony Point at Round Rock. Zay, if I can't get out to that game tomorrow, I'm kind of thinking maybe I got to go, since it's out in my neck of the woods, maybe I got to go check out what's going on over at Maynard New Tech. Because the Titans are 23-6.
Yeah.
As Ric Flair would say, what's causing all this? I might need to go figure out what's going on with the Titans out there at Maynard New Tech. Also, Elgin's hosting a game. Bastrop's hosting a game. So if you're out in my neck of the woods, you got 3 chances to maybe go check out some basketball Friday night.
For sure. And our Flex ATX power rankings for 4A, Maynard New Tech is number 1.
Is that
And
right?
behind them is Wimberley. So check them out.
I guess I'm going to have to go check out the
Check
Titans
them out.
and see what is going on. Since my wife drives for the Manor School District, she's got the Manor Red Mustang stuff, but she's also got some Manor
blue?
New Tech Blue.
That blue?
Got some
Yeah.
Titans Blue as well to try to make sure, because she's driving all those kids around, making sure they get to school and get home. Shout out to all of our area boys and girls, high school teams, high school basketball, all sports, of course, covered by Flex ATX. We do the segment every day at 1:30. Back into the NFL. There's a lot of news and notes today. We just told you Carolina's picked their new coach. They're going with Frank Reich. We'll get you some other stuff. An OC has been named in New York with the Jets. We will get back to that at 2. Up next, it's Where We At in Society with Isaiah Collier himself. Stay put. This is The Horn. All right. Speaking of time and money, Apple Leasing is going to try to save you both of those. And I know that's what they did for me. The Easy Lease is so good for you this time of year, really any time of year, but you're coming into the new part of the year. So you just came off of that holiday time, end of the year selection. There are still dealerships trying to deal with that. The 2022s, the 2023s, maybe they need to move some inventory. So there's rebate opportunities. There's extra holiday sales that may be left over. And Apple Leasing can help you figure all of that out. Different makes, different models, any car, any truck. They can help you through all of that process and get you all of the best deals and discounts. They get the same discounts and incentives that the dealers do, but they take the hassle for themselves. They do all that legwork for you. They go around looking for different options, and then they make it so easy for you to select what you're looking for, and then you're filling out everything with DocuSign. They'll deliver it right to your driveway, just like they did for me. You're going to love the way you're treated at Apple Leasing. Right now may be, it's always been a good time to think about leasing. This may be the best time that they've ever seen because of all the advantages you can get. 346-9977. That's the number. Call 346-9977 or get online and just click appleleasing.com. Oh. That's such a badass start to a song. Everything about the start of this song I love. This is Dr. John, right?
Dr. John.
Yeah. Only one guy sings like that. Another one of those just, so cool. And I swear, I might be making this up, but when I was a little kid and I would watch like Saturday morning cartoons and other cartoons, I swear to you, they made a couple of Garfield cartoons, and right in the middle of them, I swear to you, they put Dr. John songs because he was the only guy that could sing like that. And I'm like, that's awesome. And it was just a weird, it'd be like, like there was one where like Garfield got lost.
Right.
And he's in the rain and Dr. John's singing about it. I've never been so happy Garfield was lost in the rain because of Dr. John. Never have seen Dr. John live over the years. Is Dr. John still out there? Is Dr. John still touring? Don't tell me I know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take
If he is, he don't got much time.
No, I'm not taking
your track record.
No, we're not taking Dr. John out. That's not happening. I love Dr. John.
Dr. John, live it up. Make sure you do everything you want to do.
No, come on now.
Hastings.
No, he died in 2019.
Oh,
already gone. I thought that was true. Such a cool voice. Such a cool voice. Rest in peace to the great Dr. John. Dr. John, speaking of voices today, how about this? Dr. John, Warlock with Doro, Santana and Rob Thomas, and Great White with Jack Russell. You are bringing it with the voices today. Big time voices. I don't know if actually the Matchbox 20 folks would admit Rob Thomas has like a massive voice, but certainly a well-known voice. And that song with Santana was legendary. We had that earlier. Lots of stuff coming in today from the NFL. New coach in Carolina is Frank Reich. The new OC with the Jets is Nathaniel Hackett, the former coach who could not hack it in Denver. I know it's the easy joke, but I decided to go with it. And we'll tell you what that could mean for a big-time quarterback on the move at 2 o'clock. Right now, though, let's get you a little where we at in society. We'll see what Zay's got. Here we go. Yes, indeed. All right, Zay, do I need to go to Twitter for some drama or what?
Yeah, I didn't send you nothing,
Okay,
but
all right.
get on your laptop and do your research. You
Okay.
probably heard a little bit of the story, but
All right.
Ed Reed is no longer the coach
Ooh, I did.
at HBCU Bethune-Cookman.
Dude, I sat through that 4.5-minute video of him telling the team. Did you see that?
What, he's talking to the team?
I think it's him telling the team he's
I've seen
out.
I've
Is
seen
that what it is?
I've seen the video of him, like the selfie video of him in his car, just hating on everything that Bethune-Cookman has given him.
I didn't see that. Yeah, no, I didn't see that one. I saw the one where it looks like he's in a locker room, maybe talking to the team, and then Dion FaceTimes him in the middle of it.
Okay, yeah. I've seen
You
a little
seen
snippet of that.
Oh, my God.
Right. It's a crazy story.
Okay.
A very sad story for somebody who went to an HBCU. I'm very proud of my degree at Houston-Tillotson. And, to what Deion Sanders had to deal with at Jackson State, yes, the resources aren't going to be the same that you would find at a Power 5 school. They just aren't. And if you don't have that mindset going in, you're not going to do well. And Ed Reed, he's so in the wrong. Like in that video you haven't seen yet, he's just bashing the school, saying which some is a little, it isn't good for Bethune-Cookman's side. But he was talking about how like his office was dirty. They didn't even clean his office. There's like mold in places. It's just a dirty look, something that he's not used to, especially coming from the NFL, coming from Miami, the U.
Yeah.
Ed Reed, it just seemed like he was.
That's what he was expecting? Like
it's like he wasn't expecting that. Like he won like grade A royal treatment. Then he started hating. Like this is what Deion Sanders didn't like. Like that's when he started throwing Deion in the mix. Like, y'all want to hate on Deion. This is a big reason why Deion didn't stick around.
And when Deion FaceTimed him, he was supporting Ed. And he said, you didn't let those kids down. Sometimes you just got to move on. And I know what's going on. It's like, huh?
You could do that, but in the quiet, Ed Reed. And Ed Reed's one of my favorite players of all time. You and I both love secondary guys, corners, and safeties. Like, Ed Reed did it.
He's one of the best of my life, easy.
Yeah, don't let him pick it off because he's going to take it to the house.
Probably, he's a top 5 safety in my life.
I'm with you.
Gotta be.
I'm with you.
Gotta be.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
but I did not like how he went about this situation. He could have done it in the quiet. He could have went to, the administration, athletic director, et cetera, and said, look, I need things to be this way or I'm out. But he doesn't have to go out on social media, make a video. He cussing in the video.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Like, it's real ignorant.
And then I saw him when he's talking to, I guess, the players. He's pointing in the back of the room. There's a family member of his, like a nephew or something, that he convinced to go to Bethune-Cookman, and he felt bad, and it's like, oh, he's in the back of the room right now. But then he still tries at some point in that video to tell the guys to tough it out and stay, and it was really confusing.
Yeah. And
so confusing.
Yeah, and somebody on Specs text line said that he's upset because they're not putting the funds to the athletics like they should be. I'm going to fire back. What funds? There's not many funds going around these HBCUs like that.
Yeah. Didn't he know what he was getting into?
Yeah.
That's the point. I think, yeah.
Should they clean the office? Yes, they should clean the office for him.
Right.
Like, absolutely. That's not good.
But all he had to do, like you said, all he had to do was do that on the down low, real quietly. That was a text. That's a text to like
email.
a text or email to a building manager. Hey, is there any way I can get somebody in there? I saw a little mold in the office. I get it. I'm not trying to big boy you guys, but can we get the office cleaned up a little bit? Because I'm going to bring a recruit in next week.
Yeah, like where's his research before he signed on the dotted line? Which I don't think he signed anything. I think that's a big reason why he got out. He didn't really sign nothing. They just made him head coach, and he went down there and he saw what was going on and everything that he had to do, and he just didn't like it. And then went to social media about it and was acting crazy for a head coach who I don't think Ed Reed's done much like off as like an assistant or in the NFL or came from the college ranks, like fresh into the job as a head coach. And yeah, it's just a weird situation.
Has he done is it like Deion that he would have done a little bit of coaching maybe at like a Pop Warner high school level?
Yeah, something like that.
A little bit?
Mentor guy. You see him around. But
yeah, as much as I love Ed Reed, in watching that video, I didn't see a ton of poise. I just did not see a ton of. You could tell how pissed off he was, man. He was pissed. He was crying, and he had like a towel. He had like the Jerry Tarkanian towel on his shoulder. So it was like it had this weird almost strange like a basketball coach / preacher vibe / James Brown on stage wiping off the sweat. It was weird.
He's emotional. I don't know if you've seen that clip of when he was in college and he's talking to his teammates. He's mic'd up. He's basically crying to those guys. Don't ask me how my shoulder's doing. Don't ask me if my shoulder's all right. Hell no, my shoulder ain't all right.
Is that in Miami or Baltimore?
Yeah, in Miami. Hell no, my shoulder ain't all right. Stop asking me that. I do this for y'all. I love you guys. I'm tired of this, man. And it's just like, yo, I get it when you played. But when you coach, yes, you got to bring some of that energy, but you got to be, like you said, poised, professional.
Yeah.
And then just the ignorance of him going to the HBCU and realizing, oh, it's like this?
Yeah, and I also I'm shocked that Deion wasn't able to give him more counsel away from things to let him know what he did at Jackson State for those. He was at 2 years at Jackson State, right? Deion
no longer, but that sounds
at
right.
least a couple, right?
Yeah,
at least a couple years.
Least a couple.
To where it's like, no, dude, you gotta reverse engineer this in a way. You have to use your fame and your name to kind of get it going, and you got to stoke that furnace a little bit and get Bethune-Cookman going.
Yes.
As tough as that sounds, that's what you got to do. You got to use the Ed Reed part of it. Super Bowl champion and badass at Miami and national champ. You got to do all that. It's not just going to happen.
Yeah, once Ed started digging in his own pockets for finances and to help out with the resources, he said, nah.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, hey.
I ain't doing that.
Because he probably realized how much it was going to be. Wait, how much to clean the office? Ooh, damn. Okay. Well, maybe I don't have Deion's patience and the machismo and all that. Ed Reed is a confident man. Nobody's as confident as Deion. So maybe he just didn't quite have that level of confidence that he can pull it off.
Yeah, he don't got the salesman that Dion has.
No, I don't think
that
any
pizzazz.
Not many do. Not many do. I can't wait to see what Colorado's going to look like the next couple of years. All right, 2 o'clock hour coming up. We now know a couple of NFL teams that'll look different. New head coach hired today. A new OC has been named. Remember, we had 10 teams that needed new play callers on offense. One got filled the other day in New England with Bill O'Brien. We'll tell you which one got filled in that division today, and the indication it could give us about who their quarterback might be next season. Stay with us. We'll get to all that, plus why today matters on January the 26th. We got some big birthdays for you, including the man that may have the greatest dunk of all time has a birthday today. I'll see if Zay agrees with that coming up on The Horn. How about hour number 3 on a Thursday? Hour number 3 always starts with a good beat. On Chad and Zay, I'm Chad Hastings. Isaiah Collier is here. He has chosen this beat especially for you and me and all the good people. Zay, what do you got?
No guess here? I mean, you have no chance again then, but I just like hearing you guys throw something out there.
You just like hearing the guesses?
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Yeah, the hints you won't even get. Yeah, you don't know the Diplomats, Dipset.
I do not.
Yeah, this guy's in Diplomats, Dipset.
Dipset is the artist?
Dipset.
Okay.
Now, when we get into the dry period and we have to review movies, one of the movies we're going to watch is Paid in Full because it has Wood Harris and Mekhi Phifer in it, and they're like drug kingpins.
Oh, okay.
And the third drug kingpin is this guy right here, and he does a terrific job in that movie.
Okay.
This is Cameron.
Okay, the artist is Cameron.
Artist is Cameron. This is a Kanye West beat. Song's called Down and Out. It's on his classic 04 album, Purple Haze.
Cameron. How are we spelling Cameron?
Camron.
Oh, okay. Nice basic.
Yeah.
I was waiting for a K or something. No, okay. Cameron. Yeah. All right, good beat. I like that. The female voice.
Yeah.
The usage of that female voice is great. Is that female famous? Do we know?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good hypnotic, like it sticks in your brain.
Yeah.
I
love that beat.
That one will follow me now the rest of the day. I'll be just like chilling out at the house, opening the fridge. Like it'll hit me. Just like some of those Wu-Tang songs I was listening to last night. I get now why people will kind of go back to the song Cream over and over again because that hook,
so good.
That little hook is so catchy.
Yeah.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah,
yes.
My favorite Wu-Tang member, Raekwon. That's my guy.
Yeah?
Raekwon the Chef. His solo album, man, doesn't get better than that.
He went by Raekwon the Chef?
Raekwon the Chef.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so good. All right. Lots of good music on the show today, as always. So this hour starts with a Cameron beat. Lots of a couple other tunes coming. We got a lot of sports on the board today. We've talked about the NFL side of things in terms of the championship games, and if you missed some of that earlier, you've got obviously injury situations on both sides. This is something we didn't mention earlier, so we'll get it out there. Yesterday's session of practice, Christian McCaffrey with that calf did not practice. Elijah Mitchell with a groin injury also didn't practice for the Niners. Also, Kyle Shanahan says Deebo Samuel with an ankle sits out yesterday's session, but he was in uniform for the early part of practice. Trent Williams took his normal day of rest. Big shock, though. Shanahan says he thinks they'll all be ready to go, but they're getting a little bit of rest in the middle of the week. Also, Charles Omenihu still dealing with that oblique injury and, of course, dealing with the legal stuff off of the domestic violence charge. And Shanahan, though, says he will play if he is able to physically. They're not going to sit him down based on the legal situation now. They said they've looked into it and they feel comfortable letting the legal process play out, and they feel comfortable playing Charles Omenihu. So that's big for the Niners and the Eagles. In terms of off the field, Zay, we have a new head coach in Carolina. We mentioned it earlier but didn't have a chance to discuss. Frank Reich in Carolina. So let me see if I get this this math right. Carolina at this moment does not know who their quarterback of the future is, correct?
No, they do not. I mean, Sam Darnold, he did pretty good at the end of the year. He was hurt a lot of that beginning. We know what happened with Baker Mayfield. They were playing old boy from the XFL, and he was in there. So
that's PJ, right?
Yeah, PJs. Yeah. And yeah, I get it. Looking for another quarterback. I wouldn't trust Sam Darnold for your future. A lot of people on mock drafts are seeing Will Levis. Now, some people have Will Levis over C.J. Stroud. I think that's a little much. Some have him over Bryce Young. I think that's a little much also. But the Panthers, I think, have the 8th or 9th spot in the draft.
Let me pull it up right now because that's a great – I'm pulling up Kuiper's, the one that we talked about yesterday. They are 9th.
They are 9th.
And he has them – this is – I don't know if this guy's an NFL guy. He has him taking Anthony Richardson from Florida. Is that a pro quarterback to you?
I don't think so. I've seen him on a lot of charts going first round, and I don't see it.
I don't get that.
that sounds a lot like Zach Wilson. He looks good in underwear and his arm looks good when he's not being blitzed and no pads are on. He's one of those guys.
Yeah, I don't buy that. By the way, Kuiper has Stroud going to the Texans at 2. He's got the Bears taking the defensive player from Georgia. Will Anderson 3 to Arizona. Bryce Young 4 to Indianapolis, the old spot for Reich. And then Seattle taking Will Levis at 5. Because that's another team that may want to think about, like, are they really going to go with Geno Smith?
Yeah.
You know, even if you're going with Geno Smith, how much longer do you have Geno? So they may be looking at a quarterback. But so there you go, new coach. See, because deep down, I've said this. I thought the Frank Reich move made sense in Indy. I really thought they were going to become something the rest of that, certainly division, and maybe the AFC had to deal with. I thought they felt really buttoned up, and they made total sense to me a couple years ago.
Yeah, because Andrew Luck mucked them. Nobody thought he was going to retire randomly before the age of 30. Are you serious? Like, this is our franchise quarterback. He's back because he had those injuries. He had a great year. Right before he retired, he had a great year, and then he had that one injury where he's like, I can't do this no more.
Yeah.
It's the emotional stress along with the physical stress of doing physical therapy and just getting back right, just all the injuries. It didn't make sense. And
he had concussion stuff too, I think, right? Isn't there some stories that have come out where there were a couple concussions that worried them?
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That would make a lot of sense. So that completely turned that franchise around. They tried the Phillip Rivers thing. He was washed. It was a little bit too late for him. This past year, they just tried the Matt Ryan thing. Sam Ehlinger didn't get his fair shot. As much as we love Sam Ehlinger, just him being a backup in the league for the next decade, I'll take that for him. But yeah, I thought that it would go well for Frank Reich in Indianapolis also, but then once Andrew Luck retired, that's when it all went disarray.
So Frank Reich goes to Carolina. We'll see what they do in terms of other coaching. We'll see what they do in terms of quarterback. Obviously, we'll kind of look for them in the draft to see what's going on. But as Zay mentioned, they pick ninth in this draft if they don't move. And again, Mel Kiper has them taking Anthony Richardson. I think that would be a weird choice, but hey, we'll see. We'll see. I would love for that to work out. He just didn't. That guy doesn't feel like a pro quarterback to me. We'll see.
You being the A&M guy, didn't y'all play Florida this year? What happened with that game?
Did the Aggies play Florida this year? I have to look that up.
I thought they did.
I don't know. I have to double check that.
Like, that was one of those weird games. You remember there was like a last 5 games or so when we were talking about we don't think they would win. They would only win one of those games. I think Florida was the one that we talked about them guarantee.
That maybe they
that
got
was the dub, yes.
Maybe they did play Florida. See how much I'm locked into last season.
Brutal.
I mean, would you remember last season? Would you like go back and really remember it?
Yeah, that 5-7 year a couple seasons ago for Steve Sarkisian. I don't remember none of that.
Remember,
I try to forget.
The Aggies had to beat LSU to get to 5-7. And you are correct. They did play Florida and they lost 41-24. Yeesh.
So maybe Mel Kiper Jr. just watched that film.
I can say this confidently. Mel Kiper Jr. is not picking quarterbacks in the first round based on how they played against Texas A&M. That better not be happening. ESPN needs to double check what's going on if that's happening.
Well, I know on draft day when they're making this highlight clips and stuff, they're going to go to that game.
Yeah.
Probably first.
They probably will. I was about to pull it up and double check. I just don't remember much about that game. He was 17-28 for 201, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So he was good. Yeah, it's 94-4 on the QBR, almost a perfect QBR in that game. So, yes, he did very well. And Haynes King was 36.6 QBR. He was not as good. But hey, that's a whole nother story. All right, so Carolina with their new coach. And then the big story out of New York today I think is worth mentioning, Zay. The Jets have decided to hire Nathaniel Hackett, who did not make it as the coach in Denver. Issues with Russell Wilson, weird stuff from the beginning of the year, time management, clock management. He'll have to deal with that. But he's known as a big-time offensive mind. The Jets are making him their OC. Here's the connection.
Here we go.
Here it is. Nathaniel Hackett. Kids, what did he do from 2019 to 2021? That's right. He was the OC in Green Bay.
Only reason why he got the Broncos job.
So there are those out there that believe that this might be the Jets' way of officially making the play for Aaron Rodgers to say, hey, we love you in green. We just don't like you in yellow. Let's go green and white, Mr. Rodgers. Let's do it. Aaron Rodgers has already said he'd be willing to rework with the Packers, but he's also said, if I need to move on, I would hope everybody understands that, and we'll see if he ends up wearing that Jets green helmet. That will look weird. Aaron Rodgers in any other uniform, Zay, is going to look bizarre.
But we said that about Favre when he went
Oh, yeah,
to the
no,
Jets.
it's weird. It's weird, but I do like the idea of Aaron Rodgers facing a Bill Belichick team twice in a season in division. That would be badass.
Yeah, I mean, we're already so much involved in Aaron Rodgers' life, and he's in Green Bay. And I know Green Bay is a historic franchise in football, but that New York media is different in its own way.
It's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that until you said it.
Would he be willing to go to that and have to deal with that? Because, again, Aaron Rodgers, he's out there. He's an odd guy, but he's also a guy that kind of like Jerry Jones, like he likes the attention. Then he wouldn't go on Patrick McAfee's podcast every week.
But he has to do it his way.
It has to be his way, right?
So you got to, he's got to find that sort of, you got to find that like Derek Jeter-ness when dealing with the New York media.
He ain't that.
You got to figure out a way to, but you're right, because Derek always had the gentlemanly way to do it.
Yeah.
Rodgers always feels like he's got an FU behind every sentence. So as long as he's comfortable with it and knows, hey, spotlights, different lights, way more people caring about what you're doing than when you were in Green Bay. But you bring up the McAfee show. That's a huge national show. He goes on it every week. So maybe he'd be used to it, but that would be a wild switch. Him going, obviously, from the NFC to the AFC, and then the Green Bay Packers would be officially starting at square one.
Yeah. And right now, look at the NFC. You could arguably say he's still the best quarterback in the NFC. If we're just talking about right now, him currently on the Green Bay Packers, he is arguably the best quarterback there. Look at the quarterbacks remaining. I take Rodgers over Jalen Hurts.
Are we talking about just
take him over Brock Purdy?
We talking about throwing every NFL route that needs to be thrown? Hell yes.
So
absolutely over those two.
So why would you want to go battle those big-time three quarterbacks in the AFC if you go to the Jets with Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen when, you're just maybe a couple of pieces away in Green Bay? Like, yes, this was a bad season, and we know the Vikings took it, but look at the Jets roster. I love Garrett Wilson. Y'all know that. Breece Hall, he was good until he got hurt. After that, what is there? Their defense, Sauce Gardner, he's solid, but does Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't have many years left, does he have the patience to ride out a couple of, who knows, seasons? Now, people will say, okay, look what they did with Mike White, Zach Wilson, and Joe Flacco almost getting to the playoffs. But still.
But are they close enough for Rodgers to go there?
Are they close enough for Rodgers to go there? Is it worth going to the already tough, big-time quarterbacks in that division or in that conference AFC?
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. But keep your eyes peeled for that one as we start to find offensive coordinators. I still want to know who's calling plays for Lamar Jackson, who's calling plays for Kyler Murray. Those are two huge questions I have right now. Dan Quinn, I think, got a second interview in Arizona this week. They're bringing him back in. Are they going to go? Because that's one of those typical things teams like to do, Zay. We know it. They like to go from one side to the other. Either go old to young or offense to defense. And Arizona could do both of those things. Go from young offense to old defense if they go to Dan Quinn.
Let me ask you this, and Ty Henderson, producer for Bucky and Aaron, does a great job. Love Ty, one of the few Westlake guys that I do love. He had a great question this morning for Monty, Buck, and I because of all this Dan Quinn talk with Denver, and with Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you rather go? Who would you rather deal with?
You're saying if I'm Dan Quinn.
If you're Dan Quinn, Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray?
Oh, jeez.
It's tougher than you think.
Because there are, like, personality-wise, there are challenges in both cases. Football-wise, my first gut would be to say Russell.
Right.
because I'm also considering the defensive side.
Yes, that's where I was.
And there's more talent there. Russell has the potential to be, to me, a better NFL quarterback to make all the throws you need and do the things you need him to do. I think he's closer to that than where Kyler is. There's been injury stuff with Kyler. Can he the durability? And then there's that attitude thing with Kyler too.
The attitude. At least Russ, like, I'll take the fake positivity than the mopey, the world sucks vibe that Kyler be throwing out
Right.
there.
Because at that point, I think I'd have to go with might work a little too hard versus might not work hard enough.
Correct.
Because how do I make a guy – I can always dial down because I got to go to Russell Wilson. We'll sit down man-to-man. I'll say, dude, I love you, but you're coming off dorky. You're coming off like you're trying too hard. And then I would show him that Subway commercial. I really would. I'd sit him down and show him the Subway commercial, and I'm go, dude, this is what they're seeing. Your teammates think you're trying too hard. You're being a little dorky. We got to cool you up a little bit. You've seen your wife, right?
Yeah, you see Sierra, coach?
We need you to feed me. And I would say, yes, she's cool. She's got enough cool for your whole relationship. We need to get some of her cool onto you. In fact, I might have her in the meeting. Sierra, how do we get your vibe onto that?
Yeah, I think Russ thought that, okay, I'm with Sierra. Okay, I'm cool now.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Dude, you're not
that cool card is checked off.
You're not Jay-Z, man. We got to get you some cool. We got to get you figured. So I think I would lean Wilson. Is that what you said? Would you go Denver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyler Murray has talent, but just being a head case, he has like an entitled feel about him from being just a state champion in high school football, one of the greatest to ever do it in Texas high school football, never losing really, and then becoming the Heisman Trophy winner with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. He just hasn't seen failure, and he acts like it.
No, that family wrote the book on entitlement.
Yeah.
Man, they master entitlement.
Like, how was it? What was going on at A&M? I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes, but how'd that go with him? Did he, like, irk you the wrong way? Did you see kind of the path of what you're seeing now? Like, oh, yeah, I saw that. This makes sense.
There was you could see a little bit of that attitude stuff, and then the story was that it was that in 1 week's time, he and Kyle Allen both went to Kevin Sumlin and said, if you don't name me the starter, I'm gone. And I don't know I can't remember which one was first. But that was the story that he and maybe Kevin as well. The dad went in with him and said, "Oh man, you got to name us the starter, or we're gone." I kept thinking, shouldn't someone say yes to one of those guys? You can't let them both go, can you? But he let them both go.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a little bit of that. You could see he wanted to lean heavy on all that athleticism and the baseball slides and all that stuff he was doing. But you couldn't feel it. You couldn't feel the work. You could not feel that work. It's like, ooh, is he getting better, or is he just Kyler Murray? I think he's just Kyler Murray at this point. It wasn't getting better. It didn't feel like the team was really following him. I think there's a better chance. We watched a team follow Russell Wilson all the way to a title and should have had another one. We haven't seen Kyler Murray get close to that yet.
Right.
So I'd still lean that maybe you could get Russell there.
Yeah, and Patrick Peterson, he said some weird things about Kyler Murray on one of his podcasts earlier this year.
Yep.
Just talking about, he ain't going to be a leader basically at all. Then we kind of heard what Richard Sherman said about Russell Wilson, just on how we can't get a hold of him. Like, I won Super Bowls with these guys. Like, we went to war together. I shouldn't be able to go through 2 or 3 people just to get to you. It should be a direct call.
Right.
And that's just kind of the similarities on both of those guys. They're odd guys off the field, but yeah, I believe in Russell Wilson. Even though he had a bad season and wasn't the best in Seattle the last year he had under Pete Carroll, I'd still take Russell over Kyler.
Yeah, I think there's talking to Russell Wilson that could work. I don't know if you could I don't think Kyler could be talked into it right now. I don't think it could happen. One of my favorite NFL stories, even though it's a team I don't root for, but it's my wife's team. Back in the day, Ben Roethlisberger, after the first Super Bowl, he ran into a leadership issue with that team. He didn't connect with the team, and it took Hines Ward to go to him and tell him, hey, dude, they're not following you like you think they are. We've got to figure this out. And Ben completely took it the way he needed to, changed it. They went on to win Super Bowl 43 and went to another Super Bowl after that. That was a great story of you got to figure out what's going on. And that took a leader, an experienced leader, to go to him and go, yo, 7. And it was kind of that stuff. We don't know you. You won't take our calls. We're never together. We got to do some cookouts. We got to go eat together. We got to hang out together. These guys don't know you, so they're not going to live and die for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's what Russell Wilson needs.
Yeah, Big Ben did have a little D-bag in him those first few years in the league, and you could tell this is different. He kind of came into his own as being the leader as he got up in age. Interesting. I never knew that.
That's a good little story, yeah, too. By the way, Hines Ward, shout out, San Antonio Brahmas head coach in the XFL. About to start in February. Don't you scoff at the new XFL. We're gonna have XFL and USFL going at the same time.
Yeah, we'll see. That San Antonio team, they might lead the league in blindside blocks with him coaching. And be in the XFL.
That you're probably right.
Who cares?
Exactly.
CTE, who gives a damn?
Oh, come on now. Come on now. What are you talking about? All right, coming up, we'll get you why today matters. Is he the greatest dunker of all time? Vince Carter with a birthday today. We'll get Zay's thoughts on that. Couple of big music legends with birthdays. The legend in the world of hockey has his birthday today as well. We'll hit all that coming up in Why Today Matters. Remember, tonight, Ball Don't Lie at 3 as always. Longhorn Weekly with Rodney Terry at 7. Longhorn Blitz podcast at 8. Keep it right here on the Horn. All right, let's talk a little Twin Peaks. It is your place for the championship games. Cowboys fans, I've been saying it all week. Don't watch that game alone. If you're going to watch Eagles play Niners, get on out there with your friends. Go find your favorite lodge location. Get a 29-degree draft brew. Get some of that great scratch-made food. If you haven't tried one of their new flatbreads, you go do that. But just don't watch it alone because I don't know what to tell you to do and who to root for, but I can tell you where to go to watch, and that is Twin Peaks. Why don't you start your weekend coming up tomorrow with the Brews and Barrel Aged Bourbon event that they have for you. That's right. Bourbon and Brews is every Friday, and it's 5 to 7, lingerie costume party, paired with the exceptional bourbons, tastings, and giveaways. Get on out there to Twin Peaks for the championship games for all your sports watching. Basketball cranked up right now. If you're out there checking out the Longhorns at Tennessee on Saturday, Twin Peaks a great place to do it. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views, Stastny, San Marcos, and Round Rock. TwinPeaksRestaurant.com. Rolling through a Thursday. I think he might have just helped me out there. I think. Did he say Kane?
Yeah.
Big Daddy Kane?
Big Daddy Kane.
There we go. There we go. I got to tell you, Zay, there is no world of music where if you're trying to learn and you don't know, it will help you along more than rap. Rap really will help you along.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're trying to tell the difference between Miles Davis and John Coltrane, there's not little things in the middle of it where somebody says, Coltrane. That does not happen. But that's what I love about rap. They will tell you what's going on sometimes if you're paying attention. All right, so give me your Big Daddy Kane is way before your time in terms of his prime.
Yeah.
But what do I need to know about Big Daddy Kane? I remember the name. How big a deal is he?
Pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. He's up there like with OGs like Rakim and Run DMC and Slick Rick.
LL
those
Cool
guys,
J, that
LL
kind of
Cool
run?
J.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So late 80s was his big time.
Yeah. Late 80s, early 90s. Ain't No Half Stepping Right Here. Classic.
It's a badass name, too.
Ladies Man.
Good, smooth delivery.
Yeah. Wore a lot
Love
of
that.
chains and stuff.
Yeah,
Real
he-
New York type
He
ish.
did, yeah.
Real New York.
Yeah, I always knew I couldn't afford whatever Big Daddy Kane was wearing. Every time I saw him, I'm like, yeah, I couldn't afford that. There's no way. All right, so Big Daddy Kane joins the show. Dr. John, Warlock, Santana, and Rob Thomas and Great White have all been on the show. I'd go to that music festival. I don't know if y'all would, but I would. Also, a nice Cameron beat started the hour from Zay. We got a lot of good football on the board today. Frank Reich's going to be the new coach with the Carolina Panthers. Nathaniel Hackett didn't stay unemployed long. He's going to be the OC with the Jets. Does that mean Aaron Rodgers could be headed to the Jets? Keep your eyes peeled for that. Plus, we're trying to keep everything straight for the 2 championship games. If you missed the Vegas part, the line on the AFC game has swung all the way back to Kansas City. Now it's them -1, so there's a lot more trust that Mahomes is going to be all right. I checked the weather today. I don't see anything crazy on either side. High of 51, low of 40 in Philly. 15% chance during the day of rain, 39% at night, so maybe a little rain later in that game. Kansas City is just going to be cold. High of 27, low of 12, 11% chance of anything falling.
Yeah, it is raining. I mean, I'm sorry, snowing this week in Kansas City.
So during the week, right.
So during the week, I don't think it'll be snowing game day.
On Sunday, I don't see a lot of chance. I see 11%. So, yeah, but it's going to be cold as hell.
Joe Burrow loves the cold. Ain't no.
Joe does love
40
the cold.
below.
That's a great stat, man. That is a great stat. When I was growing up, the stat that we talked about, there was a stat of like, I think Brett Favre had a pretty big number for a while about cold weather games, obviously being with the Packers and everything.
Right.
And then the Bucs franchise for years couldn't win when it was, I think it was below 40 at kick. That was the deal. And it followed them all the way to the Super Bowl year. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, today's the anniversary of Bucs over Raiders. So there's multiple Super Bowls today. Super Bowl 37 is one of them. And that team went to Philly for the NFC Championship game. And a lot of people picked the Eagles. And by the way, good Eagles team with Donovan McNabb and that crew. But a lot of people picked it because of that reason. Well, the Bucs can't win when it's cold. Well, the Bucs just can't win when it's cold. The Bucs were going to win that. I don't care what the temperature was.
Yeah,
the
it
Bucs,
didn't matter.
The Bucs are going to win that game, and they did. And for the delight of Cowboys fans and others, they also closed down Old Veterans Stadium. That was the last game at Old Veterans Stadium. I can still see Rondé Barber holding that paper up
Yeah.
when they won the game. But
Did he have a pick six that game?
he did that play of the game.
Donovan.
Donovan. I'm so glad Donovan McNabb threw that pass. That was when Eagles driving to maybe tie. I'd have to go double check what the score was. It was either going to tie the game or they might have even been about to take the lead if they score a touchdown there. And Rondé goes to the house. It was like an 80-yard pick six, if I recall.
God, he had some bad pick sixes, like in the playoffs.
McNabb, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That Jason Sehorn one.
Ooh, yeah, that was bad. Well, the Giants
He's-
whipped them that day.
Oh, he's had some bad ones.
Yeah, wasn't that something like a 40-something to nothing game or 38-6 or they got whipped that day. So a lot of football on the board. We will continue to talk about that. We got a big football, hockey, and basketball birthday today to talk about. It is January the 26th. Let's tell you why today matters. Also, I'm going to tell you Astros fans about your new GM because that was announced today as well. Zay, let's start with Vinsanity. Vince Carter is 46 years old today. I am not sure if he can still get up and dunk exactly the same way he used to, but at one point, he was the best dunker on the planet. My question to you is the famous Vince Carter dunk over that dude in whatever that international game was? I don't remember.
It was the Olympics.
In the Olympics.
2000.
Don't remember the dude's name, but he climbed up this 7'3" dude, and is that the greatest dunk of all time?
Oh, man. Maybe it's up there. I got to go through the list.
Because at that time, it melted everybody's brain, and nobody thought they'd ever seen anything better. It was incredible.
Yeah, I got to go through the list. A couple of dunks are coming to my mind, but they aren't better. I don't know why T-Mac dunking over Sean Bradley jumps to my head, or LeBron over Damon Jones during his early days. There's a legendary one with Michael Jordan dunking over Patrick Ewing.
That's
in the
one.
91
That's
playoffs.
big.
That's a huge poster, but it's up there.
It is. It's right there.
It's up there.
It's also, if you're looking for the greatest individual slam dunk contest performances, you got to put Vince in 2000 into your discussion. I'm not saying it has to be the best, but Vince in 2000, we've lost it from time to time over the years. They've found it. They've lost it. We've had moments. But when Vince hit that dunk and did the double point, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. And I thought there were probably 3 dunks in there that I'll put up against anything I've ever seen in that contest, MJ and Dominique included.
Yeah, just the charisma that he brought to all the dunks and how powerful they were. Like, Dominique was known for his power with his dunks and just how much it energized the Hawks. Vince had that same type of power, but he also had the hops and just the creativity to go with it. And yeah, the between the legs dunk from the T-Mac bounce. And then he had the inverted 360, where a normal 360, you turn toward your left shoulder. He turned the other way and did the windmill while doing it. Just stupid. He's the greatest dunker of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll never forget the way the TNT guys reacted to that performance. That was one of the very first times Kenny Smith lost his mind watching the dunk contest.
Oh, man, just looking at everybody, all the players. Like, Shaq had an OG camcorder back then. He had it on tape. And, just a legendary NBA moment. And I think Vince, he's just in the class of his own. There's Jordan and, just said Dominique Wilkins, Blake Griffin, LeBron James, of course, but in-game dunker, dunk contest dunker.
Yeah.
He's still probably dunking to this day, nasty. Played for a long time, over 20-something years, 4 decades in the league. Yeah, Vince Carter. He's one of those guys that got hosed out of the top 75 players of all time.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
He deserves to make it.
Okay.
He deserves to make it.
Happy birthday to Vince Carter today. He's 46, even if he's not the greatest dunker, but we'll give him that today on his birthday. Wayne Gretzky is definitely the greatest hockey player ever. I don't think there's much argument on that one today. 62 for Wayne Gretzky. I mentioned earlier Eddie Van Halen would have been 68 today for you music fans. Also, one of the toughest athletes we've ever seen has a birthday today. Jack Youngblood is 73 years old. Jack was a defensive lineman for the Rams, most famously. If you youngsters don't remember it, the old school is Florida, by the way, for Jack Youngblood. He famously played. Now, y'all know Tony Pollard just broke the fibula in his leg, right? Jack Youngblood broke that bone in his leg during the playoffs. He finished the playoffs, he played in the Super Bowl, and he played in the Pro Bowl in 1980 with a broken leg. They took him off the field in that playoff game. May have even been against Dallas when he actually did it. They took him off the field and told him he broke his leg and he was done. He said, tape it up and I'm going to play.
Broken leg.
He told them to tape up a broken fibula. They did, and he played, Zay, and he played. In his 14-year NFL career, if Wikipedia can be believed, it's obviously the truth, right? 14-year NFL career, he missed one game. One. He was such a tough dude.
Yeah, back in the day where nobody cared about their body. Just throw your body out there. Doesn't matter what CTE anyway. Type of gameplay. Yeah.
Jack.
That's a tough son of a bee.
He really was, man. Happy birthday 73 today for Jack Youngblood. He's been at the we've interviewed him over the years at Super Bowl Radio Row. I'm not sure if Jack's going to be there this year. Our man Super Bowl Stu is going to be in Arizona setting up interviews for us. If you missed it, if we can get it, hopefully it comes through for us. Thursday of Super Bowl week, Tony Dorsett and Earl Campbell together at 12:15 on that Thursday. Keep your fingers crossed that happens, but Stu's trying to get that set up for us, and there'll be other interview possibilities. Our time of day might be big just because we're talking about Arizona, hour back on Mountain Time, might be good for some interviews. So we're hoping that for Super Bowl week. All right, January 26th, and why today matters. Astros fans, his name is Dana Brown. The Astros have hired Dana Brown as their new GM. Coming up in Stems and Seeds, I'll tell you who Dana Brown is. You kind of know him. It's kind of a if you can't beat him, join him thing. I'll explain on the horn. All right, let's talk a little AV consultations. Tom McKay and his crew doing great work over there. And this is that time of year when we're leading up to the Super Bowl. Basketball is fired up and underway. You baseball fans have baseball season coming up. Hockey's already going for Tom McKay and those hockey freaks out there. Whatever you love watching, make sure it's on a great setup. Make sure you got the screen you want. Maybe you haven't upgraded in a while. Maybe you need multiple screens. Maybe it's just about the sound and you need the right speakers and all that. Let them handle everything at AV Consultations. Let them buy the TV because they can get better deals than you can. Let them deal with all the surround sound, the speakers, the wires, the switches and the dials and the lighting, maybe security system. Maybe it's tying it all together and making sure you can operate everything from your phone. They can do all of that for you. Audio visual consultations. They've got all the smart TVs. They've got the Sonos audio equipment, and they are not raising their prices as we start 2023 here. So get that media room, that man cave, that workspace you've always wanted. Get it set up, get it done the right way by Audio Visual Consultations. 255-8678, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. All right, let's get you breathing better with sinus and snoring specialist Dr. Slaughter and his crew doing incredible work over there. We've told you about the guys at the station that have been over there as well. Our man Jeff Howe went over there and saw Dr. Slaughter a couple years ago. Isaiah has gone to see Dr. Slaughter, and he's going through that process right now of dealing with sinus stuff that he had going on, but also he's doing the allergy drops. And, he told us a couple weeks ago you can feel that difference. That's one of those big things when after the procedure that I had done, the balloon sinuplasty and really getting the air passages and the nasal passages, opened up. But also when you feel those allergy drops taking effect and over time, again, it's about a 3-year process where you're not going to need those drops anymore or the sprays or the pills that you might have been taking. But it's a great feeling to know you're getting the rest and the sleep that you need and that you deserve. You can get rid of your allergies for good. My initial exam took less than an hour. They work with most insurance. And remember, the allergy test is done without needles. Check them out today. Call and set up your appointment. Tell them you heard it on the horn. 512-601-0303 or go to sinussnoringent.com. It's sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy.
Stop calling us.
I was about to ask.
Who the hell's calling us on the Specs text line?
I was about to ask. Wait, can I just let's hear it. I just hit the hang up there, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna help with the DJing
Thank
of this
you.
song. I'm
Good
terribly
grief.
sorry. I realized I could have stopped that.
Relax your feet. SKB.
All right. Do I have any shot here?
Probably not, but I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's one of the 5 female R&B groups of the 90s.
Okay.
You got SWV a couple of weeks ago. There's
Yes.
Total. There's TLC.
Mm-hmm.
It's none of those. Destiny's Child. It's none of those.
It's not Destiny's Child.
No.
And it's not. Is it the one that I can never think of the name of? Isn't there one that starts with an E?
Oh. In Vogue?
In Vogue.
It's not In Vogue.
It's not In Vogue.
It's not In Vogue.
Whew, if it's not any of those, that's gonna be rough. I don't know.
Escape. They're saying the name.
Oh.
Party on that on Escape.
See, I didn't know there was. That's the thing. I wouldn't have known there was a group called Escape. Ladies, my bad. My bad. Do I need to know Escape?
Nah.
They sound pretty good.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Okay.
Jermaine Dupri on the production. That's what you heard.
Oh.
The male
Oh,
voice.
okay.
Yeah, they're solid.
Okay.
There's 3 gorgeous ghetto girls from Atlanta.
Escape. All right. I gotta commit it to memory. Gotta put it in there. Hey, I've been doing my studying. I was listening.
Yo, I just took y'all back. If you grew up in that era, I just took y'all back.
That was well done. By the way, just to preview something that's coming up in the next week or so, y'all might, if you're listening to other shows, you might hear a promo when Zay was singing "I'm So Icy." You might, if you listen at the right time, keep it right here on the horn. You might hear it.
You might hear it.
Fantastic. But
man.
I'll try to check out some Escape. Just like I was checking out 36 Chambers last night, I pulled out what's it called? Is it Intro? No, Enter the Wu-Tang. Right? Enter the Wu-Tang. 36 Chambers.
36 Chambers
is the name of the album. I dug what I heard.
Where are you at? How many songs have you gotten?
Yeah, I'm probably 7 or 8 tracks in.
Okay, it's only like
that.
a 10, 12 album.
Was that good?
12-song album.
Oh, see, I got to remember, it's back in the day when they didn't make 500 tracks. There's way too many tracks nowadays. I'm pulling up the track listing right now just to make sure. Got through that, got through Method Man, got through that one. Yeah, I'm in the 7th Chamber Part 2 area, somewhere in there. If this is the... Well, no.
So you haven't jammed Can It Be Also Simple, which is Raekwon and Ghostface.
I have not. I gotta have the right track listing here. Let's make sure I've got this right, because I don't want to.
Started off on the island, AK Stalin, wildin'.
All through that. Protect.
Yeah, Raekwon. I'm Staten Island boys. Yo, I just saw a preview of the biopic, season 3, Wu-Tang biopic on Hulu that RZA is in charge of. They're coming back for a season 3. It's the last season. Check that out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of it's a little fictional though. They got like Raekwon and Ghostface having beef for like the first 2 seasons. Those guys were like the best of friends. I've heard Ghostface and Raekwon talk about it, and they were like, nah, it didn't happen like that. But they are from different projects, which those projects that they are from had beef. So RZA was very smart and like threw that into the biopic. So take what you want with it. It's good, though.
I think I only have a couple left then. I think I only have a couple tracks left. I'll let you know when I finish the 36 Chambers. All right. Stems and Seeds, avconsultations.com, 255-8678 for AV consultations. Astros fans, I told you you're getting Dana Brown as your new GM. Dana Brown, the past 4 years, has been with the Braves as vice president of scouting, overseeing their drafts. So, obviously, the Braves beat the Astros a couple years ago in the World Series. Now, Astros take the front office guy from the Braves, give him the promotion to GM. Remember, the Astros are replacing James Click, who was not given a new contract after, they won the World Series. Still one of the weirdest moves I've ever heard of.
That is odd.
But best of luck to Dana Brown and with the Astros. And also, if I'm reading correctly, Zay, a historic hire. He is now the only black GM in all of Major League Baseball.
Okay, dog, I see you.
How about that?
Making moves.
Dana Brown.
Breaking records.
There you go. Got a picture of him out there, shaking the hand of the owner, Mr. Crane, and getting it ready to go. So that's going on in baseball today. If you're just jumping in, Frank Reich is your new head coach in Carolina. That is happening. And Nathaniel Hackett is the new Jets OC, which means Packer fans are about as nervous as they can be because they may be about to lose Aaron Rodgers if that relationship matters to Aaron Rodgers. Does he really want to change teams at this point in his career? And if so, is the Jets the team that makes sense? We'll come back tomorrow for a Friday show. The degenerate himself, Brandon Lang, at 1:05. What does he think of the championship games? Jeff Ketchum of Orange Bloods at 2 joins us on Fridays. We'll get his thoughts on Longhorn stuff. He's a Cowboys fan, licking his wounds like me. We'll get his thoughts there and see who he's picking to go to Super Bowl 57. That's all coming tomorrow. Also at 12:30 tomorrow, Zay will get you set up for UT at UT, Texas at Tennessee, the Rick Barnes rematch game. Zay will give you everything you need to know at 12:30 tomorrow in the Right Call segment. Ball Don't Lie coming up. Longhorn Weekly with Rodney Terry after that. And 8 o'clock, it's the Longhorn Blitz podcast replay. Have a great Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow. See ya!